Chapter 2000. At the same time, with Su Shirhan's appearance, the awkwardness caused by the piano solo was instantly dispelled, and the party became lively again. Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, I love you. The light sticks and banners were all waving in the air, and Su Shirhan's voice was like the sound of nature, instantly conquering the students in the arena. The previous shouts stopped in an instant, and everyone was immersed in Su Shirhan's voice without blinking. A few extras from the medical major also played their role, making the students feel like they were watching a live music video. It was very exciting. Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan sat quietly on the stage, acting as ordinary students. The effect was achieved, and Lin Yi was only there to join the fun. One had to say, this girl Su Shirhan was quite pretty. It was the first time Lin Yi saw Su Shirhan in a performance up close. No wonder so many people liked her. However, at the same time, a black figure was quietly approaching the bottom of the stage. This person was Fan Ganha's sister from another university, here to help cause trouble. At this moment, she was wearing a tattered black windbreaker, and her hair was disheveled, covering her face. Her body was covered in red marks, and she was dripping with blood, which was quite a scary sight. Student you? What happened to you? One of the student union's people in charge of order saw Fan Ganha's sister and jumped in shock. Oh, senior, this is the performance uniform. Our program is about to start. Fan Ganha's sister said carefully. Oh, so it's the performance uniform. You scare me. I thought you got robbed. The member of the student union felt relieved. He waved his hand and said, then hurry up and get ready. Don't delay. Okay, senior. Fan Ganha's sister nodded and lowered her body as she walked down the stage. However, when she reached the center of the stage where Su Shirhan was, she suddenly stood up. He stood not far from Su Shirhan, allowing her to see what was going on. Su Shirhan was so engrossed in singing that it was impossible for her not to notice a person popping up in front of her. But when her eyes landed on Fan Ganha's sister, she suddenly shivered, and a trace of panic and fear flashed through her eyes. In an instant, Su Shirhan felt the world spinning around her. Her head started to hurt again. This scene once again made her remember some things, some painful memories from her childhood, some things that she didn't want to remember. Su Shirhan's voice started to tremble, and her face turned pale. Ha 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 ha. It's indeed powerful and effective. Zhang Duopan was watching the stage with his binoculars. When Fan Ganha's sister came out, Su Shirhan's face changed. This made Zhang Duopan slap his thigh in excitement. That croaky voice really didn't lie to us. Su Shirhan is dead this time. That's great. Fan Ganha also breathed a sigh of relief. As for Fan Ganha's sister, seeing that she had achieved her goal, she quickly left. If she stayed for too long, she might get caught, and that wouldn't be fun. What Su Shirhan could see, Lin Yi and the others could naturally see as well. At first, everyone was wondering what that girl with red hair was doing, but when Lin Yi saw the change in Su Shirhan's face, he was shocked. Su Shirhan's headache this time was much worse than usual. Usually, it would suddenly happen, but it wasn't this serious. On the stage, Su Shirhan couldn't stop to take the painkiller, and she didn't bring it on the stage. Although it was a headache, Su Shirhan still tried her best to persevere. This was what she promised Lin Yi, and she didn't want to mess it up because of her headache. So, although Su Shirhan's head was full of sweat, she still tried her best to persevere. Of course, under the stage, other than Zhang Duopan, who was watching with binoculars, most people who didn't know Su Shirhan didn't notice anything wrong. Even if Su Shirhan's voice changed at that moment, everyone thought that Su Shirhan was too excited during the live performance, and so her voice changed occasionally. It wasn't a problem at all. However, Meng Yao and Yushu, who knew Su Shirhan well, could sense that something was wrong. Yao Yao sis, Shirhan sis seems to have a problem. Yushu observed more carefully. Don't tell me your headache is acting up again? This is troublesome. Meng Yao looked at Su Shirhan worriedly. Then what should we do? Yushu asked. I don't know. Let's see if Lin Yi can solve it. Meng Yao said. Lin Yi frowned slightly. The performance was only half done, and the music video was an extended version, so it was more than 10 minutes. There were still 7 to 8 minutes left before it ended, and Su Shirhan obviously couldn't last that long. So, Lin Yi stood up without hesitation and walked towards Su Shirhan. The song that Su Shirhan was singing was about the beautiful love in university, the expectation of a prince on a white horse. Lin Yi's cool figure suddenly appeared in front of Su Shirhan, as if he was the prince on a white horse in Su Shirhan's song, descending from the sky. Su Shirhan was a little surprised at Lin Yi's appearance. This wasn't a rehearsed scene, but after a moment, Su Shirhan understood Lin Yi's intention. Lin Yi must have seen her situation and was ready to help. As expected, Lin Yi reached out his hand and made a pleased gesture to Su Shirhan. If it was before yesterday, Su Shirhan would definitely not have any intimate actions with Lin Yi on the stage, because before yesterday, Su Shirhan only saw Lin Yi as a good friend, a savior. But now, although Lin Yi was still her good friend and savior, the two saviors were completely different. Treating a headache and saving a life were two different concepts. Su Shirhan couldn't help but think of Lin Yi's tall figure when she was singing about her love and expectation. Because Su Shirhan, Wang Xinyan, and Han Jingjing had their own dressing room, Bai Weitua didn't have to worry. It's nothing. Su Shirhan was a little uncomfortable just now, so I treated her. Lin Yi said simply. You guys didn't see it? It seems like something is wrong. Bai Weitua remembered the situation after hearing Lin Yi's reminder. Su Shirhan really didn't seem to be right, so Lin Yi went to treat her. Is that so? I thought you had an affair with a big star. Zhao Shengji said disappointedly. What affair? Boss and Wang Xinyan are a couple. Why would he flirt with Big Ming in front of sis-in-law? What's with your eyes? Song Xiaodao believed Lin Yi's words. As for the other students in the class, because they weren't familiar with Lin Yi, and after hearing the truth from Lin Yi, they naturally weren't curious anymore. They all changed their clothes and prepared to watch other professional performances. Back to their seats, Wang Xinyan was still sitting next to Lin Yi, and Han Jingjing was sitting on the other side of Wang Xinyan. Wang Xinyan didn't ask about what happened before, only quietly watching the performance, as if she didn't see Su Shirhan and Lin Yi hugging each other. Han Jingjing, on the other hand, was even worse. The others were watching the performance, but she was playing with her tablet. It was fine if she was playing games, but when Lin Yi glanced at it, it wasn't. On Han Jingjing's screen, there were a lot of formulas and data that Lin Yi couldn't understand. He didn't know what she was writing. Zhang Duopan was furious. He was about to succeed, but in the end, Lin Yi hugged Su Shirhan, and everything was solved. Su Shirhan seemed to have returned to normal, although Zhang Duopan didn't know how Lin Yi did it. He hated Lin Yi to the bone for ruining his plan. He wanted to kill Lin Yi. Originally, if Su Shirhan made a mistake, the first place would definitely be Cheng Yi's, but now Cheng Yi had to settle for second place. Especially when he heard the praises from the other students, Zhang Duopan was even more annoyed. It's so beautiful. So university life is so beautiful. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it now. I also hope that a Prince Charming will fall from the sky. I thought university life was boring, but now it seems like it's just the beginning. I'm so envious. So nostalgic. All of this, we've experienced it before. A fourth-year student also sighed, and these voices were undoubtedly affirmation for the medical program. Zhang Duopan's face was extremely ugly. Fuck. Can you guys be quiet for a second? Good, my ass. Fan Ganha saw Zhang Duopan's face was not good, so he stood up and said angrily to the students around him, Who do you think you are? Do you think I won't cut your head off and hang it on a telephone pole? Although Li Biaohan hated Lin Yi, he was Su Shirhan's fan. Hearing Fan Ganha arguing in front of him, he was immediately annoyed. Fan Ganha had heard about the few ruthless people in the school. Seeing it was Li Biaohan, he was so scared that he didn't even dare to fart and quickly sat back down. Forget it. It's our turn soon. Go get ready. Zhang Duopan said with a gloomy face. He was still able to keep his composure. Although the plan failed, his class's program had to go all out. Zhang Duopan and Fan Ganha stood up and walked to the backstage preparation room. Since he already found an excuse to lose, it didn't matter if he didn't succeed this time. Mei Wei, by Wei Tua's performance was very successful. Chai Shaoling giggled while eating chips and said to He Mei Wei, "This time, Zhang Duopan will definitely lose. Eat your chips. Zhao Shengji bought these for you, right? That foodie. Be careful, he'll turn you into a big fat girl," He Mei Wei said angrily. Lenny looked at Bai Weitua's expectant face and didn't reject. "But if that's the case, we don't need too many people, just our roommates and Xin Yan's roommates. Maybe Meng Yao and Yushi will come too." "That's great," Bai Weitua said. "Don't worry, there won't be too many people. I'll text Mei Wei now." "Don't. Wait, let me ask Su Shirhan first." Lin Yi waved his hand and interrupted Bai Weitua's action. "That's fine." Bai Weitua just remembered that Su Shirhan hadn't agreed yet. If he told He Mei Wei first, and she didn't come in the end, it would be a big loss of face. Lin Yi called Su Shirhan. At this moment, Su Shirhan should be accompanied by Feng San Wang, resting in the lounge backstage with Cheng Yi. After all, these two stars were the school's VIPs. It wasn't strange for them to have their own lounge. "Lin Yi," Su Shirhan picked up the phone quickly. "Han, are you free tonight? Let's go for dinner?" Lin Yi asked. "Dinner tonight? Of course, no problem. Just the two of us?" Su Shirhan's heart suddenly jumped. She was looking forward to it. Also by Weitua's roommates and Xin Yan's roommates. Lin Yi said, Yao Yao and Shu might come. "Oh." Su Shirhan was slightly disappointed, but her face was still relaxed. "Sure." "Shiji, is Lin Yi treating us to dinner?" Cheng Yi came over and asked. "Yeah." "All right, Yi, are you coming?" Su Shirhan nodded. "Of course. Don't say that Hero Lin is treating us to dinner. Even if he didn't, I would still treat him to thank him for saving my life yesterday." Cheng Yi said. "That's great." Su Shirhan said to Lin Yi. "Lin Yi is going too." "Okay, let's go together." Lin Yi didn't mind having one more person. After hanging up the phone, Su Shirhan looked at Cheng Yi meaningfully. "I say, Yi, this isn't like you. Usually, when people treat you to dinner, you don't go. Even if Zhang Duopan's father and you are working together, he invited you to dinner, but you didn't go? Hee, isn't it different? Hero Lin risked his life to protect us yesterday. Since he's treating, of course, I have to go." Cheng Yi said matter-of-factly. "Of course." Su Shirhan frowned and looked at Cheng Yi mischievously. "Yi, don't tell me you're moved? You saw Lin Yi so handsome yesterday, and you fell in love at first sight? So what?" Cheng Yi didn't care. Since ancient times, beauties have always loved heroes. "Hansis, aren't you moved? I just think that Lin Yi is a real man. If I can be his woman, I'll feel so safe." "Yi, are you for real?" Su Shirhan's eyes widened. "Of course it's fake." "Huh." Cheng Yi giggled. "I do admire him, but I've never thought about getting a boyfriend. I just debuted, and I've always been walking the innocent route. If I get a boyfriend now, I'm afraid it'll have a big impact. But Han Sis, you should get a boyfriend now. Why don't you date Lin Yi for a bit, and when you're done playing, give him to me." "Me? Ahem." Su Shirhan choked on Cheng Yi's words. "Playing what? What the hell are you playing?" "I'm not joking. Han Sis, are you hiding something?" Cheng Yi smiled at Su Shirhan. "What are you nervous about?" Chapter 2002. It's not that I'm nervous. It's just that you shouldn't say things like that. "It'll be bad if there's a misunderstanding," Su Shirhan said. After getting the news that Su Shirhan was going, Bai Weitua called He Mei Wei immediately. "Mei Wei, are you free tonight? Let's have dinner together. Our show was very successful. It's a celebration." "Tonight?" He Mei Wei was helpless because Zhang Duopan just called her and invited her to dinner. Zhang Duopan also said that he could invite Cheng Yi, but He Mei Wei didn't agree. Since she didn't like Zhang Duopan, she didn't want to be too close to him. Not long after Zhang Duopan called, Bai Weitua called again. He Mei Wei didn't know what to do. Although she didn't hate Bai Weitua, if she agreed to Bai Weitua and rejected Zhang Duopan would definitely be very angry. It wouldn't be good if he did something bad. "Yeah, Lin Bro invited Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi too. They are all your favorite stars," Zhang Duopan said. Su Shirhan is going too? Himei was a little surprised. Su Shirhan was her favorite star. If it was only Chung Yi, Himei would be a little hesitant. But since Su Shirhan was going, Himei naturally couldn't let go of this rare opportunity. One had to know that among Su Shirhan's fans, there weren't many who got Su Shirhan's autograph, and there weren't many who got to take photos with her, let alone having dinner together. Therefore, Himei nodded and agreed almost without thinking. Okay, then let's go together tonight. Okay, let's meet in the parking lot tonight. Bai Weituo said happily. Bai Weituo just hung up the phone and was about to thank Lin when he heard the students beside him screaming. He suddenly raised his head in confusion. Lin, he wasn't watching the show, but when he heard the scream, he looked at the stage and saw Mengyao and Yushu. What surprised Lin was that there were a total of 4 people on the stage. They were wearing black leather clothes, sexy but not revealing, and they were performing a popular modern jazz dance. Mengyao and Yushu entered the school as soon as they entered. The top girl of S school's beauty leader. The other 2 girls in her dorm weren't particularly pretty, but their bodies were incredibly hot. Mengyao and Yushu, on the other hand, were a combination of one tall and one short. The 4 of them looked extremely well proportioned together, and the moment they stepped onto the stage, the crowd cheered. Big brother Lin, aren't those the 2 school beauties that your relative asked you to look after? Bai Weituo recognized the girls as well. They're so pretty, but I'll be lucky if I can get Himei. This is something I can't even imagine. Lin, he shook his head and didn't say anything, but Xinyan and Han Jingjing both raised their heads and stared at the stage. Xinyan didn't mind, but Han Jingjing put down her tablet and looked at the stage. Lin, he was more or less surprised. The dance was over, and it attracted a lot of praise from the students. Han Jingjing lowered her head again and went back to studying her tablet, no longer looking at the stage. Han Jingjing, what are you doing? Lin, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Studying pill refining. Han Jingjing said, Pill refining? You're writing and drawing on your tablet, calculating all these random things. You're making pills? Lin Yi's eyes were wide open. Yes, these are some physical formulas for temperature and heat energy in alchemy, as well as chemical formulas for the reactions between various medicinal materials and some mathematical formulas for time. Han Jingjing said seriously, Of course, there's some other formulas. Lin, he was stunned by Han Jingjing's words. You could use formulas to derive pills? This was the first time Lin, he heard of this. This Han Jingjing really was a genius. But Lin, he didn't say anything to her. She could study it if she wanted to, as long as she didn't ask him why. What's wrong, Linny bro? Is there something wrong? Why do you have a weird expression on your face? Han Jingjing asked. Ahem. Lin, he was just thinking that Han Jingjing didn't ask him why, but she started asking now. It made Lin, speechless. There's nothing wrong with it, but your method of studying pills is really unique. Yeah, Linny bro, I think I'll be able to come up with a method that combines modern science and ancient medicine. I'll become a very, very powerful refiner. Han Jingjing nodded. All right, continue your research. Linny didn't know what to say. He thought that if this girl wasn't a genius, then she was crazy. But from her usual behavior, it was more likely that she was crazy. Lin, he sent a text to Mengyao and Yushu, asking them if they wanted to have dinner together. Naturally, the 2 of them said yes without hesitation. Su Shirhan was participating in the banquet, so they couldn't miss it. Lin Yi, on the other hand, felt a little nervous when he saw the reply. Mengyao and Yushu didn't seem to be very friendly with Wang Xinyan. The miss was fine, but Shu might say something embarrassing. That would be a little embarrassing. After all, this was the first time Mengyao and Yushu had dinner with their roommates in Xinyan. Lin, he had only asked out of politeness, not thinking that they could join. After all, their dorm had a performance, so it was more likely that they would go to dinner together. Lin, he shook his head. He could only take it one step at a time. Finally, the freshman party came to an end amidst the cheers. The winners of the freshman party would be announced tomorrow. As on top of it, Lin Yi, Bai Weituo, Zhao Shengji, Song Xiaodao, and Xinyan walked to the car park together. Shirhan and Chun Yi, on the other hand, had already left the hall and were waiting for Linny in the car. Otherwise, if the students came out together and saw Su Shirhan and Chung Yi, they would definitely surround them. Even now, there were still some students looking around for Su Shirhan and Chung Yi. At this time, He Mei Yue and Chai Shaoling also arrived at the parking lot, but Lan Xiaoru was not there. Mei Yue, where's Xiaoru? Bai Weiduo walked over and asked. Xiaoru and her boyfriend have things to do, so they didn't attend today's freshman party, He Mei Yue said. What's so important that you can't even attend the freshman's gala? Bai Weiduo was a little surprised. However, Lin Yi was very calm. Bai Weiduo was just angered by Zhang Duopan. But Lin Yi didn't believe Zhang Duopan's words at all. Zhang Duopan said that he didn't invite Chung Yi at all. How could he know that there would be someone else at dinner tonight? If it was really planned a few days ago, could it be that Chung Yi could predict the future and predict that Lin Yi would treat Su Shirhan to a meal today, and that she would join on the fun? Therefore, Zhang Duopan's words were 99% false. Lin Yi didn't need to find Chung Yi to verify it at all. But if he called Chung Yi out, it would be difficult. At that time, Chung Yi wouldn't be able to refuse or agree. Moreover, she would think that he suspected that she invited Zhang Duopan, which would be even more embarrassing. Of course, the most important thing was that He Mei Yue wasn't Bai Weiduo's girlfriend yet. Lin Yi had no reason to chase her away. Everything depended on He Mei Yue and Bai Weiduo. However, just when Bai Weiduo didn't know what to do, a heavenly voice rang in his ears, making Bai Weiduo cry. Oh, so you're the rich guy that Sister Shirhan mentioned. She told me that we don't need to spend money today. There's a rich guy paying the bill and treating us to the most luxurious hotel in Donghai City, Arctic Ocean Seafood Restaurant. The owner of the voice was naturally Yushu. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard this voice. It seemed that evil people needed to be dealt with by evil people. Huh. Zhang Duopan's eyes widened after listening to Yushu's words. He was speechless. He didn't know whether to admit it or not. If he admitted it, it meant that he was the rich guy. If he didn't admit it, then he obviously couldn't attend the dinner tonight, because he had already said before that he and Chung Yi had agreed to treat everyone to dinner after the performance. Of course, he could say that he would treat them tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, but he had nothing to do today. After weighing the pros and cons, so be it. Zhang Duopan laughed and said, Miss Su, you really know how to joke. But to be able to treat two celebrities to a meal, even if he is a rich guy, not everyone can do it. Yes, it has to be a special rich guy like classmate Zhang. Yushu nodded and said, I heard that the seafood in the Arctic Ocean Seafood Restaurant is flown in from abroad. The price is very expensive. A meal will cost tens of thousands of yuan, right? And the wine, ordinary rich guys can't afford it. This, Zhang Duopan was shocked when he heard that a meal cost tens of thousands of yuan, and that didn't include the wine. He didn't spend much to invite Chung Yi, but a meal cost tens of thousands of yuan. Although his family was rich, his pocket money was limited. Otherwise, he wouldn't be driving an Aurora. He would have bought a sports car. Since classmate Zhang is the host that Su Shirhan said will treat us, then let's go. Bai Weiduo calmed down and understood the crux of the matter. Since Zhang Duopan shamelessly wanted to follow them, then they wouldn't mind mocking him. It's just tens of thousands of yuan, it's nothing. Now that things had come to this, Zhang Duopan had no choice but to go. He glared at the talkative Big Bab Shu and thought to himself, this girl has big boobs, but she's not brainless. With just one sentence, she made me a rich guy and even lost tens of thousands. Yao Shu, you guys are here. Lenny nodded to them and said, get in the car. I really don't know where this Arctic Ocean seafood restaurant is. You guys lead the way. Chapter 2004. Meng Yao, Yushu, Xinyan, He Mei Yue, and Shaoling got on Lin Yi's jeep, while Bai Weiduo, Zhao Xingji, and Song Xiaodao got on Zhang Duopan's Aurora. This made Zhang Duopan quite annoyed. There was no fun in a car full of old men. Lin Yi called Feng San Wang and told him to go to the Northern Ice seafood restaurant. Feng San Wang's car had a GPS, and it was easy to find the place. Lin, E, and the others just needed to follow behind the SUV. Shoo, you're really bad. This Northern Ice seafood restaurant's really expensive. I heard that the average person spends tens of thousands. Mingyao said. Oft. Didn't they say a meal costs tens of thousands? Linny said, shocked. Yeah, a meal costs tens of thousands. That Zhang Duopan is stupid. He didn't even ask. Yushu nodded. He may weh, Shaoling, and Xinyam looked at Yushu, cold sweat forming on their backs. This girl was a little too cruel. The 3 cars stopped in front of the Northern Ice Ocean seafood restaurant, and Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi were dressed like they were last night. No one could tell who they were from the outside. Zhang Duopan got off the car and looked at the Northern Ice seafood restaurant signboard. He was shocked. This building was as luxurious as a palace. How could he afford it? Other than sports cars, there were Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, and other luxurious cars, all of which cost less than $1 million. This made Zhang Duopan nervous. But he was already here, and he couldn't go back on his word. He gritted his teeth and walked into the hotel with Fan Ganha. The group was warmly welcomed as they entered the door. A row of waiters greeted them warmly, and a male and a female receptionist brought them to the restaurant to order. This kind of service was worth a lot of money, and it made Zhang Duopan regret coming here. He was afraid that he would really become a rich man today. In the dining hall, there were huge aquarium tanks all around. They were filled with all kinds of live seafood, giving everyone the feeling that they had entered a marine museum. Of course, the price tags on the aquarium tanks were not cheap either. Basically, the starting price was in the tens of thousands of dollars. Zhang Duopan almost fell to the ground when he saw this. How could a meal cost tens of thousands of yuan? If a few people ate it, it would cost at least a few $100,000. This place is not bad. How much is the average consumption here? Zhang Duopan's heart was bleeding, but he still pretended to be casual and asked the waiter. About 70,000 to 80,000 for seafood, sir, the waiter who ordered the dishes said. Zhang Duopan was taken aback. 70 to 80,000 for one person? This Yushu sure knew how to scam people. He was about to say something when Yushu spoke up. 70,000 to 80,000 for one person isn't that expensive, right, Yayao sis? Yushu said. Zhang Duopan was speechless. So she said 70,000 to 80,000 for one person. Zhang Duopan's heart was already starting to throb. He was thinking about how he was going to get money from his dad if he didn't have enough. The more he thought about it, the more Zhang Duopan hated Yushu. Yushu had a cute face and a big chest, but in Zhang Duopan's eyes, she was a little devil. He wouldn't let this girl go if he had the chance. The consumption here is so high. Then let's order less seafood and more stir-fried dishes. Su Shirhan was a kind person. She didn't want to scam Zhang Duopan. Looking at Zhang Duopan's face, it was obvious that he couldn't take it anymore. Cheng Yi and Zhang Duopan's father's company were partners, so Su Shirhan didn't want Cheng Yi to be in a difficult position. Yeah, stir-fried dishes are healthy. Zhang Duopan heard Su Shirhan's words and wanted a hug and kiss her. She was his savior, but he didn't dare to do so. Yes, seafood. Eating too much on such a cold day will give you a stomachache. Even the sports students in our sports department don't dare to eat so much. Fan Ganha quickly echoed. Yushu saw that Su Shirhan said so she didn't continue to scam Zhang Duopan. He was much poorer than Zhong Pingliang and Zhang Wen. As long as he didn't go against Shield Bro, Yushu would let him go for now. With Su Shirhan taking the lead, everyone naturally focused on the stir-fried dishes. Although these things weren't cheap, they were much cheaper than seafood. For seafood, they only ordered crab and prawns. It didn't cost much. After the meal, it only cost 100,000. Zhang Duopan let out a sigh of relief. The pocket money in his card, after deducting the payment for Cheng Yi, was still enough to treat everyone. But in the future, he couldn't spend so much money. He could only live his life nervously. After ordering, everyone went to the private room. It's my treat today. Everyone, eat and drink well. Zhang Duopan's money couldn't go to waste. He acted like the host. Yeah, we can order when it's not enough. Otherwise, Zhang Duopan won't be happy if we don't eat well, Yushu added. Actually, I think the abalones here are all alive. We should order some abalones. I've never eaten such a big abalone before. Baiwedoa said as he gestured with his hands. Abalone is actually not that tasty, and it doesn't look good. Since there are girls here, let's not order it. Huh? Zhang Duopan was so scared that his legs almost cramped. He had seen the price of abalone before. That was a one-headed abalone that cost tens of thousands of yuan per caddy. It was simply the best of the abalone. Even his father had not eaten it before, let alone him. So what if there are girls here? Baiweituo rolled his eyes and knew what Zhang Duopan was implying. He pretended not to understand and asked, why can't girls order abalones? Why doesn't abalones look good? Zhang Duopan thought that Baiweituo really didn't understand and was afraid that he wouldn't stop, so he whispered to him, ahem, lower your voice. It's just that girls don't usually call it abalone. Usually, as long as someone said this, the listener would smile knowingly and not say anything more. But Baiweituo still widened his eyes and shouted, girls? Where's that? What here and there? Zhang Duopan, what are you talking about? If you can't afford abalones, just say it. What's the point of coming up with so many mysterious phrases? Chapter 2005. As Baiweituo shouted, everyone turned to look at them. At first, Zhang Duopan's words didn't attract much attention, but now that they thought about it, Su Shihan, Cheng Yi, and even the miss all blushed. Fuck, it's a black fungus, do you understand? Zhang Duopan was pissed off by Baiweituo. Seeing everyone looking at them, he decided to go all out and shouted, black fungus? Abalone is black fungus? Baiweituo looked at Zhang Duopan in confusion. Zhang Duopan, are you sick? Your abalone is black fungus? Baiweituo, are you fucking doing this on purpose? Zhang Duopan didn't believe that Baiweituo didn't understand black fungus, unless this guy didn't go on the school's forum. But this guy had clearly posted before. How could he not go on it? So Baiweituo was obviously pretending to be dumb. That's why Zhang Duopan was angry. On purpose? Baiweituo froze and then realized. You said abalone and black fungus, so that's what you meant. Why are you such a low-class person, saying this in a restaurant? Why don't you say in a nightclub? Zhang Duopan was pissed, but seeing Baiweituo's innocent look, he couldn't do anything. Looking at the girl's looks of disdain, Zhang Duopan cursed his bad luck. It didn't matter how others looked at him, but he wouldn't think that he was a low-class person, right? Fuck, don't be too happy. If you can, why don't you treat us? Zhang Duopan sneered. I'll pay the bill. Baiweituo wanted to say that he would pay the bill, but when he suddenly thought of the price of this meal, he suddenly became listless. If he spent more than 100,000 yuan on a meal, wouldn't his grandfather peel off his skin when he returned? If you don't want to treat us, then you can leave now. This meal is on me. Lin Yi looked at Zhang Duopan. You? Zhang Duopan heard Lin Yi's words and suddenly realized that he came here shamelessly. If he didn't treat them, then Lin Yi wouldn't bring him along anymore. If he left like this, although he could save hundreds of thousands, what would he think? Thinking up to here, Zhang Duopan squeezed out a smile. Huh, I was just joking with Baiweituo. Joke? No one is joking with you. Today is the last time you can treat Meiwei to a meal. When the results of the school's art festival come out tomorrow, you will lose this opportunity forever. You should cherish it. Baiweituo looked gratefully at Lin Yi and said to Zhang Duopan, why is that? So what if the result is out? Zhang Duopan shrugged indifferently. What? Zhang Duopan, are you trying to act shamelessly? Last time at the KTV, we already made a bet. In this year's freshman party, whoever gets the highest ranking in the program will have a right to pursue Meiwei, and the loser will have to give up on Meiwei. Could it be that student Zhang has a bad memory? Do you want me to help you recall? Baiweituo sneered at Zhang Duopan. Oh, you're talking about that. Although you guys might get first, it's not because of your abilities. It's because of a superstar, Su Shihan. What does that have to do with you guys? Zhang Duopan smiled faintly. So it doesn't count. Not counted? You guys broke the rules first and invited Cheng Yi. Okay? Baiweituo froze and said angrily. We did break the rules, so it doesn't count even if we win. But I didn't ask you to learn from her. You guys broke the rules yourself, so who can you blame? Zhang Duopan shrugged and made a what can you do about it expression. Didn't you say that each person would have a program? As long as it's someone involved in the planning, it's fine. You didn't say we can't invite celebrities. Bai Weituo was furious. He didn't expect Zhang Duopan to be so shameless. Freshman party. Don't you know what it is? That's a party for freshmen. You have freshmen on the stage. That's a freshman party. If you invite celebrities, that's a concert. Zhang Duopan said. You're inviting external help, not just freshmen. Of course, it doesn't count. Bai Weituo was enraged by Zhang Duopan's words, but he couldn't refute it. This guy insisted on the word freshman, and Bai Weituo couldn't do anything about it. Who asked him to invite outsiders? Lin frowned. He didn't expect Zhang Duopan to be so shameless. But looking at his face, he knew that even if Bai Weituo won fair and square, he wouldn't admit defeat and find some other excuse. Haha, Zhang Duopan is right. We're just joking. We're classmates with Mei Wei. We can't break off our friendship just because of a bet. Fan Ganha added. Lin smiled coldly in his heart. As expected, even if they lost completely, they still had an excuse. But this was Bai Weituo's business. Lin didn't want to get involved. After all, there was no reason. If it involved Wang Xinyan, Lin naturally couldn't let him go. Soon, the wine and food were placed on the table in turn, and Zhang Duopan proudly raised his glass. First of all, thank you, and Shirhan, for coming to my dinner party. Mei Wei and I are both your fans. It's a great honor to be able to eat together. Bai Weituo rolled his eyes in disdain. Su Shirhan was invited by Lin but from his mouth, it sounded like he was the one who invited her. Wow, this prawn is so delicious. Chill bro, try it. Yushu picked up a big prawn and put it on Lin Yi's plate. She didn't put Zhang Duopan in her eyes at all. She let Zhang Duopan stand there. He couldn't continue talking or sit down. Yeah, brother Lin, the dishes here are really good. If it weren't for Big Kai's treat, I wouldn't be able to eat it. Bai Weituo also nodded and said, Brother Lin, let sister-in-law try it too. What? Lin glared at Bai Weituo and thought to himself, does this kid not know the situation? Meng Yao and Yushu didn't seem to be interested in Xinyan at all, and yet this guy was calling her sis-in-law. Bai Weituo, don't call me that. There's nothing going on between me and Lin. Xinyan waved her hand, embarrassed that Bai Weituo was talking about her in front of so many people. People are calling me and Sister Yao Yao. Who is calling you? You think too highly of yourself, Yushu said as she looked at Xinyan. I was thinking too much. Xinyan pointed at herself, not sure if she should laugh or cry. She wasn't the type of person who liked to argue, so she just shook her head and said nothing. Bai Weituo saw that he was in trouble, so he quickly shut up and didn't dare to make another sound. However, Zhang Duopan seemed to have discovered a new continent. Chapter 2006. Zhang Duopan purposely raised his voice. Haha, Ganhe, do you see that? Xinyan and Lin have nothing to do with each other. You can go after her without worry. Lin has girlfriends, and 2 of them. Go after your sister. Yushu wasn't happy. She didn't like Xinyan being so close to Lin but Xinyan might be someone Lin liked, otherwise he wouldn't be helping her all the time. Since Xiao Xiao wanted Lin to find another girlfriend, Xinyan might be able to take the position, and now Zhang Duopan was trying to butt in. She wasn't happy at all. This was an internal conflict. What did it have to do with him? Go after his sister? Fan Ganha blinked. His sister's only 10. She's not suitable for me. Ganhe, go after your sister. That's a curse. Zhang Duopan explained, a little embarrassed. Girl, you're cursing me? Fan Ganha slammed the table and stood up, pointing at Yushu. Our Zhang bro is treating us today. Why do you have to be so annoying? Leave if you don't want to eat. He'd been pissed off at Yushu for a long time. This girl had been messing with him from the very beginning, and even now, her mouth wasn't idle. She'd even made fun of his goddess, Wang Xinyan. He couldn't take it anymore. Ahem. Ganhe, you sit down first. We're polite people. Zhang Duopan jumped when he saw Mei Yue's disdainful look. He quickly pulled Ganhe back before turning to Yushu. Sorry, Fan Ganhe is a sports student. He's a little hot-tempered. Haha, don't mind him. Fan Ganha didn't know what was going on. Usually, Zhang Duopan would be happy when he stood up for Zhang Duopan. What was going on today? But since Fan Ganha wanted him to sit down, he had no choice but to sit down. So what if he's a sports student? If he meets a real master, he'll beat the crap out of him. Bai Wei Tuo said flatly. Okay, everyone stop fighting. Let's eat. The dishes will be cold in a while. He Meiwei said helplessly. Today, the two big stars are here. Don't be so childish, okay? That's true. Haha. Fan Ganha, don't fight with Bai Wei Tuo. If you're not convinced, then find an opportunity to have a fight. Don't the school have those clubs? When the time comes, we could just borrow a venue. Zhang Duopan was smart. He acted as if it had nothing to do with him. It was all Fan Ganha and Bai Wei Tuo's quarrel. His last sentence was extremely hateful. It was simply targeted at Bai Wei Tuo. If they were to compete, Bai Wei Tuo, who is not a sports student, would definitely be at a disadvantage. Su Shihan and Cheng Yi, on the other hand, felt that this childish fight was quite amusing. When they were done, Su Shihan raised her cup and said, All right, I'll say a few words. Thank you everyone for your hospitality, but Yi and I have to catch a plane tomorrow morning, so let's hurry up and eat. We can go back and rest earlier. With Su Shihan's words, Fan Ganha was silent for a while. Everyone enjoyed the meal. Lin Yi, a toast to you. Cheng Yi suddenly raised her cup and looked at Lin Yi with anticipation. This was the first glass of wine she poured in the entire meal. Although it was red wine, it was clear that she treated Lin Yi differently. Before, she and Su Shihan had drinks with them. Toast to me, Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. Yeah, for yesterday, I really have to thank you. Cheng Yi said solemnly. I'll drink this glass of wine. You could do whatever you want. Yi, speaking of which, I also want to toast to Lin Yi. Let's drink together. With that, Su Shihan poured herself a glass of wine and held it up. Meng Yao and Yu Shu, on the other hand, understood what had happened last night. The others, on the other hand, were completely confused. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't want to explain at all. He raised his cup and said faintly, Nothing. And so, the atmosphere became a little strange. Zhang Duopan was envious and confused at the same time. Cheng Yi and Su Shihan toasted Lin Yi together. What did Lin Yi do? Su Shihan and Cheng Yi drank the wine in their hands while Lin Yi took a sip of tea. The situation was just that strange, but Su Shihan and Cheng Yi didn't want to explain, so the others could only keep it in their hearts. Right, this weekend, I'm planning to invite everyone to the Tiger Park to play. It can be considered as relieving the fatigue of this period. Zhang Duopan said. But it's a pity that Yi and Shihan are leaving tomorrow. Otherwise, we can go see the tiger together. We're too busy with work. There's no choice. Cheng Yi smiled. Let's go together then. Bai Wei to Lin Yi, you guys come too. Zhang Duopan smiled. Meiwei, Bai Wei Tuo and I are competing fairly. You will not give us a chance, right? We're all good friends. We're going to have fun together. There's no competition. He Meiwei said helplessly. Although the meal was full of fighting, with Su Shihan and Cheng Yi there, it wasn't too obvious. Until the end of the meal, a waiter knocked on the door and came in. Hello, everyone. Because you're the 888th guest of this month, we're providing a photo service. The photo can be made into a crystal cup, the waiter said respectfully. Photo. Zhang Duopan was dazed. Does it cost money? Many restaurants use this kind of promotion as an excuse, but in fact, they still wanted the customer to pay. So, Zhang Duopan asked subconsciously. It's free, the waiter said. Normally, it's charged, but the 888th guest is free. Oh, it's free. Then I'll take one. Zhang Duopan nodded. Okay, I'll go find a photographer. The waiter didn't see Su Shihan and Cheng Yi because they had their backs to the door. Su Shihan and Cheng Yi helplessly put on their sunglasses again. After all, it might be troublesome to ask the photographer to come out. Soon, the photographer came. He wasn't surprised that Su Shihan and Cheng Yi were wearing sunglasses. After all, a lot of customers like to look cool when they took photos. There were some who wore glasses and hats. After taking the photo, The photographer left. After a while, the waiter brought over a beautiful crystal cup with everyone's photo. Just one. Zhang Duopan thought it was one for each person, but there was only one. How are they going to split it among so many people? Sir, you can make more, but the first one is free. The rest will have to be charged, the waiter said. Chapter 2007. We can charge a fee too, one for everyone. Zhang Duopan waved his hand. How was he supposed to split the cup? Okay, sir. Please wait a moment, the waiter said and retreated to make the cups. Let me see. Yushu snatched the cup from Zhang Duopan's hand. Wow, Shield bro, you're so handsome in the photo. You're the most handsome out of all of us. Yushu said. Shu, mind your image, Mingyao said helplessly. Shu had insisted on sandwiching Lin Yi between the two of them during the photo shoot, not giving Xinyan a chance at all. Xinyan had no choice but to stand beside Yushu, and Yushu was very pleased with herself. It didn't take long for the waiter to bring the crystal cups over, one for each person, no more, no less. Zhang Duopan turned to the waiter. Waiter, can I have the bill? How much is it? Sir, you've spent 200,900 in total, so it's 200,000. The waiter said. Oh, I'll pay with my card. Zhang Duopan casually handed over a card before realizing something was wrong. Wait, why is it 200,000? Wasn't it 140,000? Zhang Duopan had estimated the price. The dishes were only around 130,000, and even with the drinks, it was around 140,000. How could it be 200,000? That's right, sir. This is your list of expenses. Please take a look. The waiter didn't look down on Zhang Duopan at all. He politely took out a list of expenses and handed it to Zhang Duopan. This is, 5,000 for a crystal picture frame? Zhang Duopan's eyes went wide. There were more than 10 people in his group, and just the crystal frames alone cost 60,000. No wonder it was 200,000. Yes, sir. This crystal photo frame is made of real crystal, not glass. The waiter explained. Every single one of them is worth collecting, and there's an expert certificate here. Is that so? Zhang Duopan looked at the pile of crystal cups and wanted to cry, but had no tears. They were all printed with photos. He had to buy them even if he didn't want to. He could only say with a sad face, Okay, I'll pay by card. However, the fees he gave Cheng Yi were not enough. There were only a few 100,000 left in the card. Zhang Duopan was thinking about what excuse he could use to ask his dad for more money. After dinner, Lin Yi drove Xinyan, Mei Wei, and Chai Xiaoling back to school. He was about to head back to the villa with San Wang when he saw two people standing there in the dark parking lot. Upon closer inspection, who else could it be but Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao? Han Jingjing? Lin Yi stopped the car and looked at Han Jingjing in surprise. Why are you two standing in the parking lot? Big brother Lin Yi, we were waiting for you to send us home, Han Jingjing said pitifully. I thought you forgot about us, but you finally remembered and came back. Ugh, you're saying that you've been waiting for me to send you home? Lin Yi's eyes were wide open. Yeah, Han Jingjing nodded. Isn't your X5M parked over there? Don't you know how to drive? Lin Yi looked at the X5M not far from the parking lot. I didn't bring my keys. I've been riding in your car for the past 2 days, and I thought the keys were a little heavy, so I didn't bring them. Han Jingjing said, You didn't bring your keys? Lin Yi was stunned by Han Jingjing's words. Then why didn't you call me? I did, but my phone was turned off. Han Jingjing said, feeling wronged. Lin Yi remembered that he'd turned off his phone when he was on stage, afraid that someone would be looking for him. He'd forgotten to turn it back on. Okay, get in the car. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. If you can't find me next time, take a taxi back, and it's not far on foot anyway. I was afraid that you would come to pick me up again, and we would be worried if you couldn't find us, Han Jingjing said. Then I won't call you. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Okay, get in the car. Lin Yi, how could you forget about Han Jingjing for dinner? Look at how pitiful she is. She hasn't eaten yet, right? Mingyao didn't have any bad feelings towards Han Jingjing. After a few days of interaction, she felt that this girl didn't have any ulterior motives and was easy to get along with. It's okay, Yao Yao sis. I'll go home and eat instant noodles, Han Jingjing said. Chill, bro. Why don't you make some food for them when you go home? They're so pitiful. They're always hungry. Yushu also sympathized with Han Jingjing. She actually stood in the autumn wind for an entire night. It was really pitiful. It's okay, Shu. We always eat instant noodles. We're used to it, Han Jingjing quickly said. It's already so late, it's fine. It's okay. There's ready-made food at home. I'll cook for you, it's nothing. Lin, he was very embarrassed. Because of his mistake, Han Jingjing and Yushu stood in the parking lot for an entire night without food. It made him feel bad. Thank you, Linny bro, Han Jingjing said happily. The car returned to the villa. Linny got off the car, and Su Shirhan also got off the car. Originally, Feng Sanwang planned to send Cheng Yi back to the hotel, but Cheng Yi didn't want to go back. Shiji, why don't you help me talk to Linny? Can I stay here tonight? Cheng Muyi said pitifully. Last night, after that incident, I went back to the hotel, and the moment I closed my eyes, I saw those robbers. I couldn't sleep well. I only fell asleep in the wee hours. It was too scary. I don't dare to stay by myself. It's okay, sis, if you're scared. You can stay here. Meng Yao agreed generously, because Cheng Yi was a celebrity that she liked, and she was also Su Shirhan's junior. How could she not agree? But after Meng Yao finished speaking, she realized that the owner of the villa was not her anymore. It was Lin Yi. So, Meng Yao looked at Lin Yi, a little embarrassed. Lin Yi, is it okay? Lin Yi understood what the miss was thinking, but he smiled. You have a part of this villa. It's as good as Songshan. You can make the decision. Meng Yao heard Lin Yi's words. She was a little touched. Thank you. Ha! It's nothing. You guys chat first. I'll cook something for Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao, Lin Yi said. Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao didn't seem to be fans. Han Xiaoqiao was very shy. He didn't like to talk. And Han Jingjing seemed to be engrossed in studying something. She wouldn't let go of her tablet. She wouldn't stop writing and drawing. Chapter 2008. Fortunately, the two of them got off the car and went back to the villa. They didn't talk to Su, Shirhan, and Cheng Yi. Lin Yi was surprised. Were these siblings even people of this world? They didn't like to chase after celebrities at all. Lin Yi found some food in the kitchen, making 2 dishes before sending it over to Han Jingjing. Lin Yi Gij, thank you. Han Jingjing saw that Lin Yi was here and finally put down the tablet and ran out to help Lin. Do you want to come in and sit for a bit? No, you guys should rest early after eating. I'm going back. Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing's mansion. There didn't seem to be anything new inside. It was all the furniture and appliances that came with the mansion. Han Xiaoqiao was sitting on the sofa reading a book, while Han Jingjing was probably playing with the tablet. These two were really weird. They were both nerds, but the elder sister's personality was even weirder than the younger brother's. Lin Yi took a look at Han Xiaoqiao's book. It was a textbook from a university's economics department. It was normal to read textbooks at home, but Han Jingjing was using a tablet to calculate some pill refining formula. Lin Yi couldn't believe it. Oh, okay then. Han Jingjing nodded, a little disappointed. Oh, right, Lin Yi Gij, how's your alchemy going? These 2 days. I don't have time to study it yet. Lin Yi said honestly. Lin Yi was busy with the freshman party, and then he got attacked after picking up Su Shirhan, and then he broke through. Lin Yi didn't even have time to practice the 4th stance of Frenzy Fist, not to mention alchemy. Please remember, oh, I see, I want to discuss it with you. Han Jingjing said. Then when Lin Yi Gij is done, we can discuss it together, okay? Okay. Lin Yi nodded. Han Jingjing was very happy to receive Lin Yi's reply. She happily said goodbye and went to eat with Han Xiaoqiao. Lin Yi, on the other hand, returned to his villa. In the living room, Meng Yao, Yushu, Su Shirhan, and Cheng Yi were chatting excitedly. It seemed like they were talking about yesterday's events. Cheng Yi was beaming with joy and her eyes were full of admiration. As soon as Lin Yi entered the door, he heard her words, Yao Yao Shu, I really envy you. You have such a powerful bodyguard as Lin Yi living with you. If Shirhan and I stopped singing, we would want to move in with you. Sure, then move here when you guys retire from the music industry. Meng Yao smiled. We're afraid that someone might be hostile towards us if we move here. With that, Shirhan smiled as she looked at Yushu. They were still making fun of Wang Xinyan just now. No, I'm just helping shield bro. Yushu was a little embarrassed and quickly changed the topic. Shirhan sis, you and sis seem to be very close. Yeah, the two of us are from the same sect, and we hit it off very well. We usually like similar things, so we're closer. Shirhan nodded. Thanks to senior sister's care, otherwise I wouldn't be able to develop so well. Cheng-Yi also nodded. Why don't you guys go to bed early? Tomorrow, you have to go to school or catch a plane. Can you get up? Lin looked at the four people who were chatting happily. Sleep soon. Meng Yao looked at her watch and realized that it was already very late. When the freshman party ended, it was already 9 o'clock at night. After dinner, it was already 11 o'clock, and now it was 12 o'clock. If they didn't sleep now, they really wouldn't be able to get up tomorrow. So, the four of them packed up and went upstairs. Lin Yi, on the other hand, returned to his room and continued to consolidate the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. There were too many things to do these few days. Lin Yi wanted to find a chance to practice the fourth form of the Frenzy Fist. Now that Lin Yi was already at the peak of the early phase of Earth class, other than the fourth form of the Frenzy Fist, would he be able to use the fifth and sixth forms? Lin Yi was very looking forward to it. It was just that he didn't have the time to think about it. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Lin Yi activated the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. His strength at the peak of the early phase of Earth class was basically stabilized. This time, there weren't too many accidents for Lin Yi to break through. After all, Lin Yi was about to break through. He just lacked the opportunity to break through the limit, and this opportunity happened to appear during the battle. But what made Lin Yi happy was that this opportunity came at the end of the battle, the deciding moment of victory or defeat. If it had appeared before, then Lin Yi would be in danger. With the Earth-class black-clothed man glaring at him, how could he break through in peace? Perhaps this group of people would all be finished. Thinking about it, Lin Yi felt a lingering fear. However, through this battle, Lin Yi actually discovered that he had an advantage. What he lacked in strength, he could use martial arts to make up for it. For example, he was only an early phase of Earth class, but with the unique martial arts, he didn't show any weakness when facing the black-clothed man of the mid-phase. His first form of the Frenzy Fist was actually equivalent to the second form of the black-clothed man's Ice Snow Thorn. In other words, as long as Lin Yi's stamina was full every time, he could still fight above his level. This discovery made Lin Yi both surprised and happy. He originally thought that the advantage he had when he was in the Mystic class no longer existed, but he didn't expect that through Falbert's martial arts, he had regained his initial advantage. The fourth form of the Frenzy Fist was already enough to completely crush a mid-phase Earth class. In other words, if the opponent was only one level lower, Lin Yi could easily crush them. As long as he used the fourth form of the Frenzy Fist from the start, the opponent wouldn't be able to handle it. However, what would it be like facing a peak mid-phase Earth class now? He hoped that he could use the fifth and sixth forms of the Frenzy Fist. That way, Lin Yi would be able to fight against a peak mid-phase Earth class. Actually, what Lin Yi didn't know was that he could now fight above his level because of the Frenzy Fist. Although the Frenzy Fist was considered a top-notch martial art, it also depended on the user. Lin Yi had the support martial art that he took out from the cave, which allowed him to display every form of the Frenzy Fist to the fullest. Just like the person who created this martial art, he could understand the essence of each form, but it was different for others. Although the martial art was powerful, everyone's understanding would more or less deviate. No one could be like Lin Yi, using the Frenzy Fist as if it was his own creation. The black-clothed man's Ice Snow Thorn wasn't weak either. It was just that he was too weak. His mental cultivation wasn't that great to begin with, so the martial arts effect couldn't be fully displayed. Plus, his understanding wasn't that thorough, so every form was weaker than Lin Yi's. Chapter 2009. Chapter 2022. Replacement, but there was no way to argue about this sort of thing. Lin Yi's advantage was like Zhang Naipeo's. It all came from his practitioner's speciality. His talent wasn't that great either. It was just a coincidence. Upstairs, Meng Yao and Yushu were showering together. Yao Yao, do you think that Wang Xinyan can become Shield Bro's main wife? Yushu asked. How would I know? Meng Yao shook her head. Wouldn't she bully us if she became the main wife? Yao Yao, we have to think of something. Yushu said worriedly. Then what do you think we should do? Meng Yao frowned. The problem now is that Lin, he doesn't have Tang Yin in his heart anymore, and the reason he got together with Xiao Xiao was because he felt sorry for her, and after some time, Xiao Xiao allowed him to find other women. Lin, he doesn't feel any guilt at all, so what can we do about it? Even if we stop him from being with Wang Xinyan, he'll still be with someone else. Plus, can we really stop him? We didn't stop Tang Yin back then, right? That. Yushu thought about it. That's true, but there's a lot of candidates. I think Han Jingjing and Shirhan Sis are good as well. Even Yi Sis is fine. She's a star after all, and she's older than us. She could be a big sister. Han Jingjing? She doesn't have much of a mind. She's a little dumb. But Wang Xinyan's a good person too. She doesn't fight for things. She's a quiet girl. Meng Yao said. As for the two-star sisters, I think we should just forget about them. Why would they share their love with someone else? We were just joking before. There's no way they'll really move in. That's true. Yushu nodded. Then we're being too paranoid. We're worrying too much. We're still in Lin Yi's hands. We're just here to help, as long as we don't let Yin Yin down. Meng Yao felt a little conflicted as she said those words. Sometimes, Meng Yao wondered if she wanted to replace Tang Yun's position. Plus, Tang Yun's words had hinted at the same thing before they parted, but Meng Yao still felt that it'd be a little too much if she were to replace Tang Yun. It was like taking advantage of others when they were in a precarious situation. Therefore, a thin-skinned person like Eldest Miss would never do such a thing. It was a quiet night. Lin, he had nothing to say. Miss Shu, Su Shirhan, and Cheng Yi all had dark circles under their eyes. It was obvious that they didn't sleep well after talking all night. However, Cheng Yi's relationship with Missy and Shu was much better. What time is your flight? If there's nothing else, I won't send you off. Lin Yi said, I still have to go to school today. You don't need to send us off. Brother Phone will pick us up later. Cheng Yi said, seeing how powerful you are, those robbers probably won't dare to come again. Yeah, there hasn't been any movement for the past 2 days. Obviously, they've given up. Shirhan nodded. By the way, what happened yesterday? Lin Yi asked while eating breakfast. Yesterday, after you saw the woman in the black trench coat, your headache acted up? Yeah, I came back last night and kept talking about other topics. If Lin Yi didn't remind me, I really would have forgotten to ask. Missy nodded. Shirhan Sis, what happened yesterday? It's nothing. Actually, my headache. Lin Yi was right. It should be caused by some trauma in my childhood. Shirhan smiled bitterly. But these things I don't want to mention, and I haven't told anyone. So what happened yesterday should be a coincidence, Lin Yi nodded. He had checked Shirhan's headache before, and he knew that Shirhan wasn't sick. It was a psychological problem that caused symptoms similar to neurosis. But even Lin, he didn't know the specific reason. So how could outsiders know? Yeah, I was also very puzzled about what happened yesterday. Even I, as Sister Han's best friend, only knew that Sister Han had some trauma in her childhood that would cause headaches, but I didn't know it was because of a woman in black. Cheng Yi nodded. It seems that what happened yesterday was really a coincidence, although Lin, he felt that what happened yesterday shouldn't be a coincidence. After all, the appearance of the woman in black was too sudden, and it happened to appear during Shirhan's performance. Not only that, but the most important thing was that this person was an actress. Until the end of the freshman party, he didn't see her wearing this kind of costume again. So this made Lin Yi feel very strange. It seemed that this person just wanted to appear at that time. However, Shirhan also said that it was a trauma in her childhood. It was a secret. She didn't even tell Cheng Yi about it. Cheng Yi only knew the general situation, and Lin Yi as a doctor also didn't know. How did that Zhang Duo Pan know about it? However, this matter could only be a mystery, and Lin Yi didn't want to delve into it. After breakfast, Feng Sanhuang drove the MPV over, bringing Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi to the airport. The matter here had also come to an end. Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao were waiting at the door early in the morning. It was probably because of what happened last night, and they were afraid that Lin Yi would forget about them again. You guys don't need to wait like this. When it's time to leave, I will call you guys. Lin Yi looked at the pitiful siblings and felt a little embarrassed. Who would have thought that they were actually rich people who lived in a villa and drove a BMW? People who didn't know even thought that these two couldn't afford to take the public bus, so they waited here. In fact, Lin Yi was also very strange. However, with Han Jingjing's IQ, Lin Yi didn't want to ask anymore. If he didn't get the answer after asking again and again, when the time comes, it would attract Han Jingjing's question, and that would be looking for trouble. Chapter 2010. Chapter 2023. Notes 2. Therefore, Lin Yi hurriedly held onto Han Jingjing, and Han Jingjing fell into Lin Yi's arms. From an outsider's perspective, it looked like the two of them were hugging. TSK, you haven't even settled one, and now you're dealing with another. Aren't you tired, Huang? A sour voice sounded behind Lin Yi. Lin Yi turned around and found that it was you, Coiling Tiger. What does it have to do with you? Second young master, you. Don't tell me your skin is itchy and you want to get beaten up again? Lin Yi looked at you, Coiling Tiger, coldly. You, Coiling Tiger, actually took a fancy to Han Jingjing and wanted to chase after her to have some fun. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would beat him to it, so he was naturally unhappy. Therefore, when they met here, he said such a sentence in a lukewarm tone. Lin Yi, in Boss Bai's class, you don't have to threaten me. Who's afraid of who? If you want to be expelled, then beat me up. You, Coiling Tiger, looked at Lin Yi with disdain, as if a dead pig wasn't afraid of boiling water. What happened in Boss Bai's class? Lin Yi frowned slightly. Maybe there was something he didn't know. You don't know. You, Coiling Tiger, was also stunned, but he quickly explained, studying here, no matter which family or sect you come from, you have to coil up if you're a dragon, and you have to lie down if you're a tiger. If you make a fuss here, then you'll be expelled. After saying that, you, Coiling Tiger, looked at Lin Yi proudly, meaning that you don't dare to do anything to me this time, right? Although I can't beat you, I can make you sick. Oh, so that's why you're called you, Coiling Tiger. Han Jingjing nodded and said, what does this have to do with my name? You, Coiling Tiger's face darkened and said, I'm just reminding you not to violate the rules. Don't think that you have any privileges because you're an alchemist. Who isn't an alchemist? You have to listen to Boss Bai here. Ah, big brother Lin Yi, why did he say that you are an alchemist? Are you an alchemist? Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi in surprise and asked. Of course he's an alchemist, and he's very powerful. If you want to learn alchemy, you can ask him and let him teach you. Right, Panu didn't mind causing some trouble for Lin Yi. Big brother Lin Yi, then why did you say that you don't know alchemy? Han Jingjing looked at Lin Yi strangely. Since Right Coiling Tiger is so enthusiastic, then you can teach her alchemy. With that, Lin Yi pointed at Right Coiling Tiger and said, he is an alchemist, you can ask him. Ah, Right Coiling Tiger, can you teach me alchemy? Han Jingjing turned her head and looked at Right Coiling Tiger. Right Coiling Tiger originally wanted to explore Lin Yi's background to see if he was an alchemist and how powerful he was. That was why he asked Han Jingjing to ask Lin Yi, but he didn't expect that he would shoot himself in the foot. Haha, our Yu family's alchemy can only be passed on to the people of the Yu family. It can't be passed on casually, Right Coiling Tiger said with a laugh. On the other hand, Lin Yi, you seem to be a rogue cultivator. You don't have so many rules, right? Quickly teach her your alchemy skills. If you want to pick up others, you have to pay a little price. Before Right Coiling Tiger saw Lin Yi buy a broken medicine cauldron, he began to doubt whether Lin Yi knew alchemy or not. Which alchemist would buy that kind of trash? At this moment, he also wanted to see if Lin Yi knew alchemy. I don't know alchemy, said Lin Yi faintly. Right Coiling Tiger didn't expect Lin Yi to answer so straightforwardly. This made him even more puzzled. Did Lin Yi know alchemy or not? Yeah, Lin Yi bro doesn't know how to concoct elixirs in the first place, and we've been studying it. Yupan Hu, Teach us if you know how to concoct elixirs. We're all classmates. Don't hide anything. Han Jingjing said. Ahem. I have something to do. I'll leave first. Right Coiling Tiger didn't dare to speak casually. Although a lot of alchemist information was public, the Yu family's control of alchemy fire came from the Heavenly Elixir sect. It was improved. Right Coiling Tiger was afraid that he would make mistakes if he said too much, so he left first. Brother Lin Yi, why is he like this? He has good things, but he doesn't share them with others. He's really bad. Han Jingjing looked at the back of Right Coiling Tiger and said unhappily, Do you really want to learn alchemy? Lin Yi looked at Han Jingjing and felt more and more incredulous. Previously, Lin Yi thought that she was curious and would lose interest after a few days. But now it seemed that this wasn't the case. Now, Han Jingjing couldn't use alchemy. She's simply possessed. Her analysis and research on alchemy have become formulaic. Don't use the word interested to describe her. Ah, Brother Lin Yi, why do you ask? Han Jingjing said, I have been studying alchemy. How can this be fake? Lin Yi nodded. He could see that Han Jingjing seemed to have a special fondness for alchemy. Have you been in contact with alchemy before? Why do you want to learn alchemy? Actually, I got an alchemist's notes, so I started to study alchemy. Han Jingjing said with some embarrassment. I'm sorry, Brother Lin Yi. I didn't know you very well before, so I didn't dare to tell you. I was afraid that you would take away my notes, but now I found out that you are a good person, so I won't hide it from you. Alchemist's notes? Lin Yi was shocked. You actually have such a thing? Where did you get it? The antique market, Han Jingjing said, but I have already scanned it into a picture and put on the tablet. I will show it to you. Okay. Lin Yi didn't expect Han Jingjing to actually buy the alchemist's notes. This kind of thing could actually be bought, which made Lin Yi feel a little incredible. Han Jingjing quickly found the scanned version of the alchemist's notes on the tablet, then handed it to Lin Yi and said, Brother Lin Yi, it's here. Take a look. You can study it with me. Lin Yi took the tablet and looked at it carefully in his hand. Although this Han Jingjing looked silly, she didn't seem to be very stupid. At least before, she wasn't familiar with him, so she didn't tell him about the alchemist's notes. Now, as the relationship between the two became better, Han Jingjing took out the notes. However, what made Lin Yi feel strange was that there were only some records of the temperature control skills of the alchemy fire during alchemy and the pharmacological reactions between various medicinal materials. In other words, there was no mention of how to condense the alchemy fire from beginning to end. There were only these technical things. What are those things you wrote on the tablet? Lin Yi asked. Lin Yi had always been curious. Yesterday, Han Jingjing said that it was scientific alchemy, but he didn't quite understand what she meant. He didn't know what those formulas represented. Let He may see his face clearly and avoid contact with him in the future. Ahem, quiet down. Class is about to begin. Boss Bai knocked on the door frame of the teacher's room and strode into the classroom. The noisy classroom suddenly became quiet. Bai Weidao was so scared that he hurried back to his seat. Boss Bai was very satisfied with everyone's performance. He nodded and walked to the podium. Everyone did well in yesterday's freshman's evening party. I would like to commend you. It's been many years since our medical profession won an award in the freshman's evening party. Even the art festival and the sports meet didn't have anything to do with our class. But a miracle happened because of you. I hope this is a good start. Everyone, keep up the good work and strive to get a good ranking in other activities so that I, Boss Bai, can be proud. Sai, how is that possible? This time, it's because of the superstar. Yeah, without the superstar's help, our class can't do it. Quiet down, I don't think everyone is very enthusiastic. But there's one thing I forgot to tell you. You won first place in the singing program of the freshman's evening party. I'm going to reward each of you with 2 credits. In the future, if you get a good ranking in other activities, you will also be rewarded according to your ranking. If you don't want to continue asking for the reward, then forget I said anything. Boss Bai narrowed his eyes and said lightly, of course, why not? We'll definitely win next time. That's right. Under the leadership of the class monitor, we must win. 2 credits. We can graduate in advance if we have enough credits. Even the expressionless right coiling tiger was overjoyed when he heard that there was a reward of 2 credits. If he could graduate in advance from Boss Bai's hands, it would also be an honor. In the future, he would become an elder in the family. It would also leave a heavy mark on his qualifications. He was a little glad that he participated in the freshman's evening party this time. If he didn't go on stage, Boss Bai would probably leave him behind when he rewarded the credits. Okay, that's all. Now, let's continue the class. In this class, we will continue to talk about the pharmacology of some common herbs. As Boss Bai spoke, he opened the textbook and began to teach. Han Jingjing, who had been writing and drawing, also put down the tablet in her hands at this moment and listened attentively to Boss Bai's lecture. The morning passed in the blink of an eye. When the class was over, Boss Bai gestured to Lin Yi and said, "Lin Yi, come with me." Okay. Lin Yi nodded. He wasn't surprised. Boss Bai had said before that, after the freshman's evening party, he would go to him and teach him some unexpected knowledge. Right coiling tiger looked at Lin Yi with some envy and jealousy. Chapter 2012. Chapter 2025, he was deaf. Right coiling tiger followed him sneakily. Lin Yi found it funny that Tiger Right thought that nobody had noticed him. When he entered Boss Bai's office, he intentionally left the door half closed. After lingering at the door for a while, Tiger Right came over. Right coiling tiger was overjoyed. The door wasn't closed, and he wanted to pretend to enter by chance to join in the fun. However, Lin Yi pushed the door shut with a bang. The metal door directly hit Right coiling tiger's nose. Right coiling tiger's nose started to bleed. Right coiling tiger let out a shrill scream. Lily, what was that sound? White Boss also heard Tiger Yu scream, but he didn't see him outside the door. I don't know. Maybe I caught a mouse when I closed the door, Lin Yi said. There are rats here? It seems that I have to buy some rat poison tomorrow. Don't take my medicinal materials. Boss Bai nodded and said, Boss Bai, you're looking for me. Lin Yi asked hesitantly. He have a seat first. Boss Bai, however, invited Lin Yi to sit down unhurriedly. Then he poured out some tea leaves from a small iron pot. These are the tea leaves that I grew myself. Have a taste. Well, Boss Bai, you didn't invite me here just for tea, did you? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. To tell you the truth, I don't know much about the tea ceremony, and I don't drink this stuff. My old man grows it too, but we usually use it to cook tea, eggs, poo. Boss Bai made a cup of tea for himself and Lin Yi respectively. Picking up his own cup, he savored the fragrance of the tea. However, he was so shocked by Lin Yi's words that he spat out all the tea in his mouth. Lily, this tea is worth tens of thousands if you want to tail on the market, and I added some other elements when I planted it, so it's worth more than tens of thousands. You're actually using it to cook tea, eggs? So, don't waste it on me. Lin Yi shrugged and said, Boss Bai, let's get down to business, shall we? All right. Boss Bai put down the teacup and said, Although everyone in your class is my student, students are different. Among these students, I was going to find a talented student to teach him some special medical knowledge, but you and I are destined to meet each other, and you saved my life, so at this point, Boss Bai paused. He squinted at Lin Yi, waiting for his answer. Boss Bai, if you have something to say, just say it. I can't guess it if you are so secretive. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. You look like you're not willing to learn. You have to know that the right coiling tiger and whatnot is something that people would rack their brains to learn, but there's no chance. Boss Bai said. At the door, the right coiling tiger was listening to the intermittent conversation between Lin Yi and Boss Bai. When he heard that Boss Bai was going to teach Lin Yi some special medical knowledge, he was very envious and secretly cursed Lin Yi for being so lucky. Why was he valued by Boss Bai? Moreover, from Lin Yi's tone, it seemed that he was not interested and didn't want to learn. The right coiling tiger almost pushed the door open and went in, yelling, if you don't want to learn, then give the opportunity to me. You won't agree even if you keep nagging. So what if I beg you to learn? However, from what Boss Bai said, it seemed that he wanted to beg Lin Yi to learn, or else why would he use him as an example? Moreover, It seemed that Boss By said that Lin E was his life savior. When did Lin E save his life? This series of questions made the right coiling tiger's ear stick even tighter. However, after that, there was no sound in the room, which made the right coiling tiger a little confused. Could it be that the two were secretly whispering to each other? Therefore, the right coiling tiger's ears stuck even tighter. As a result, just when he wanted to listen more carefully, there was a sudden loud noise in his ear. Boom! It almost pierced the right coiling tiger's eardrum, and he let out a scream, awe. Lenny knew that Boss By was going to tell him something confidential, so he deliberately smiled bitterly to stall for some time. Then, he quickly kicked the iron door of the office, and tragedy struck the right coiling tiger. The right coiling tiger was shaken to the ground and covered his ears. His eyes were full of little stars, twinkling. He was so dizzy that he didn't know which way to go. Lily, why did you kick my door? Boss By smacked his lips. Although the door is iron, it's easy to break if you kick it like that. You know, Lin, he walked back after kicking the door. There's a big mouse outside the door, and always wants to eavesdrop. Huh, it's okay. It doesn't matter if he hears it. Boss By waved his hand, because the things he wanted to teach Lin E, the right coiling tiger, also knew there was no need to hide anything. Even if the right coiling tiger heard it, it didn't matter. Of course, as for those key things, Boss By organized them into books, and the right coiling tiger couldn't see them even if he wanted to. It doesn't matter? Lin, he was slightly stunned, and he was a little puzzled. Why didn't he hide it from the right coiling tiger? Could it be that the right coiling tiger and Boss By had a very good relationship? Okay, I won't beat around the bush with you anymore. Have you ever heard of alchemy? Boss By's eyes suddenly narrowed. Alchemy? Lin Yi's eyes widened, and he looked at Boss By in disbelief. Why did he only hear alchemy these days? Han Jingjing alchemy, the right coiling tiger alchemy, and Boss By alchemy too. Was alchemy popular now? How is it? You don't understand the true meaning of alchemy, do you? Boss By said, the so-called alchemy here is not the ordinary mixing of several medicinal materials and then condensing them into pills, I know. You're talking about the alchemists who use alchemy fire to temper medicinal materials and condense them into pills, said Lin Yi. You know, Boss By was a little surprised after hearing Lin Yi's words. You've also heard of alchemists? Isn't the right coiling tiger an alchemist? So you said that you wouldn't hide it from him. So it's about alchemists, said Lin Yi in realization. Yes, the right coiling tiger is a first-level yellow-level alchemist, but he's already close to the second level. He's a good seedling, but I don't really like this person's character. Boss By nodded and said, this kid has some skills. Lin Yi frowned and was a little shocked. He didn't expect Boss By to praise the right coiling tiger so much. But to be honest, if the right coiling tiger was really a first-level yellow-level alchemist that was close to the second level, then even if he wasn't the head of the Yu family, it was enough for him to have a very important position in the Yu family. No wonder there were so many masters around him. But I didn't expect that you actually know about alchemists. Then, did you apply for medicine this time because you heard about it? Boss By looked at Lin Yi with some doubt. Boss By laughed. In that case, I'll reluctantly teach you some knowledge outside of the classroom. Thank you, Boss By. Lin Yi said quickly. No need to thank me, but the foundation of an alchemist must be a swordsman. Do you know what a swordsman is? Boss By waved his hand, his face returned to normal, and asked seriously. I know. Lin Yi nodded, but he suddenly had some doubts. When Lin Yi treated Boss By before, he felt that Boss By was not a swordsman, and his meridians were broken and blocked, which was impossible. Could it be that Boss By was a swordsman? But Lin Yi had never heard that a swordsman could make alchemy. Then Boss By. Thinking of this, Lin Yi looked at Boss By strangely. Boss By, are you a swordsman? No. Boss By shook his head. Then do you know alchemy? Lin Yi was a little confused by Boss By's straightforward answer. No. Boss By still shook his head. Then aren't you teaching me alchemy? Lin Yi looked at Boss By and asked with some surprise and doubt. It's alchemy. Boss By said, I haven't finished yet. I'm not a swordsman now, nor am I an alchemist, but I used to be one. How did this song come about? I haven't been an alchemist for many years. Lin, he was a little speechless. This old man looked quite funny. However, he used to be an alchemist, but not now, so there was no problem in teaching. Just like Faubert. Although he could no longer use the frenzied fire fist, he could still guide Lin Yi to activate and practice it. What, you don't believe me? Boss Bai saw Lin Yi's disappointed eyes and stared at him. Did you see that? That coiling tiger, right? And the others are also from an alchemy family. How difficult is it for them to learn something from me? Of course not. It's just strange. You were an alchemist back then, and you looked like you were really strong. How did you get your meridians broken? Or maybe it's blocked. You look so pitiful. Lin, he smiled bitterly. Who said that I was beaten by someone? I was possessed when I was refining alchemy, and the medicine cauldron exploded. Boss Bai glared and said, if I wasn't injured by the explosion with my alchemy ability, I wouldn't be an ordinary lecturer here. Back then, those ancient sects and ancient families begged Grandpa to ask me to refine alchemy, but I didn't pay attention to them. SSSS. Lenny took in a cold breath after hearing Boss Bai's words. This guy used to be a top-level elixir refiner. Moreover, he seemed to be a very awesome one. No wonder Coiling Tiger right, and the others didn't dare to be rash in front of him, and he even said some strange things to him in the morning. It turned out that Boss Bai was really an awesome person. How is it? Scared, right? Since you know about them, then you must know about the hidden houses, and ancient sects. Boss Bai looked at Lenny proudly. Got it. Lenny took a deep breath. Boss Bai, I didn't know that you were such a legendary person. Legendary? That's all in the past. Haha, I'm a useless person now. I can teach disciples, but I can't refine elixirs anymore. Boss Bai shook his head in self-mockery. I, Zhang Liju, can't end with my generation. So, I found 2 disciples, and one of them is you. What? Zhang Liju. Ahem. Lin, he almost choked to death. The miracle Dr. Zhang Liju? You've heard of his name? You come from a medical family, so it's not surprising that you know this person. Chapter 2014. Boss Bai nodded. That's right, I'm Zhang Liju's disciple. But back then, my Shifu only left behind an incomplete elixir refiner's notes, and he didn't even pass on the refiner's fire to me before he died. I only became a master elixir refiner with my talent, and it actually doesn't have much to do with being Zhang Liju's disciple. It's just that my name is a bit scary. Lin, he didn't understand. Your Shifu died right after he passed you a refiner's notes? Yeah, he went crazy during elixir refinery and died from the explosion of the cauldron. But I was luckier than him, and my medical skills were better than his, so I survived. When he met me, his medical skills weren't good enough, so he died, Boss Bai said. Lin, he was a bit speechless. Chapter 2027, Dream, but he could vaguely tell that Zhang Liju's sect didn't have many inheritances left. These elixirs were passed down from generation to generation, and Boss Bai's situation wasn't uncommon. The previous generation died, and the next generation didn't even have time to take over. As a result, Zhang Liju left behind fewer and fewer essences, and most of them had to rely on their own research. But Boss Bai's title as Zhang Liju's disciple really shocked Lin Yi. He had been Zhang Liju's disciple for many generations, and if he was Zhang Liju's disciple, wouldn't that make him Boss Bai's master? Of course, Lin Yi was just thinking about it. After all, he only got some of Zhang Liju's belongings, and he wasn't really Zhang Liju's disciple. So, he didn't have any mental burden to become Boss Bai's disciple, and it was more like returning to his roots. Don't worry, as long as you don't try to cross levels and make those insane elixirs, you won't die. Boss Bai saw Lin Yi's shocked expression and thought that Lin Yi was scared, so he quickly explained, Our elixir refinery has reached a bottleneck. Chapter 2027. Dream always wanted to make a breakthrough and refine a higher grade of elixir. I couldn't control the elixir fire as I wished, so the cauldron exploded. If you were only refining ordinary elixirs, there wouldn't be any danger. At most, you would fail, but you wouldn't be injured. Lin, he shook his head. Boss Bai obviously misunderstood him. Moreover, why would Lenny be afraid of getting hurt? Even if the medicine cauldron exploded and injured Lin, he had the space of a jade pendant. What was there to be afraid of? As long as he was not killed by the explosion, he would be able to recover as long as he was still breathing. Also, according to Boss Spy, they had been passed down from generation to generation, which meant that even if the furnace exploded during alchemy, he would not die immediately. At least, he could survive for a while and make funeral arrangements. Therefore, when Lenny had the time to make funeral arrangements, he had already returned to normal. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm just shocked. Lenny said, if I guess correctly, the information you got should be good, and you became an alchemist grandmaster through your own exploration. How awesome is that? That's true. Boss Spy nodded and said, before my master died, he passed on his knowledge to two people. One is me, and the other may not be talented enough. So he disappeared after getting the secret book. However, my master was also desperate. He was dying, and he couldn't choose a successor. Lenny nodded. If it weren't for Boss Spy's talent, he might really have been lost. So, I'm preparing for a rainy day and finding a successor before I die. When I die, it will be too late to find a successor. Boss Spy said, besides, my master had a lot of knowledge, but he didn't summarize it into a book. The alchemist's notes were organized by his master. Although it was not bad, many of his own theories were not preserved. His master's alchemy skills were actually not as good as his. Well, he smiled bitterly. In fact, many sects were like this now. Many mental techniques and martial arts were kept secret, which resulted in a chain reaction if something happened to the person who guarded those mental techniques and martial arts. But I'm smart enough to have organized a book based on his foundation, and it's unique. As long as you thoroughly learn what I know, then there will be no problem to become a top alchemist. Boss Spy said, really? Lin Yi's eyes widened, and he was very excited. Wasn't this what Lenny dreamed of? Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you about this? Boss Spy said, do you not believe in my teaching level, or do you not believe in your own ability? Speaking of ability, if you aren't made for it, then there's nothing I can do. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat at Boss Spy's words. Not made for it. Even with Zhang Liju's notes, he couldn't learn anything from it. Could it be that he really wasn't made for it? Of course, Lenny didn't mention anything about Zhang Liju's notes. After all, this was a very important matter, and Lenny understood that he was only an Earth-class early phase peak. All the hidden house you needed to do was move out and kill him. Even if house you didn't eavesdrop, there was no way he would say these things right now. Even if he were to show these things to Boss Spy, he'd have to wait until he was strong enough to do so. Otherwise, it'd be just like the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Too many people coveted it, and it'd even caused Guan Xin to be kidnapped. Even a normal recipe was like that, let alone Zhang Liju's refiner's notes. There were many lost recipes in there, and he couldn't just show them to anyone. As for Boss Spy's injuries and broken meridians, while he might have a way to heal him, he didn't do it. After all, Boss Spy was simply too famous, so famous that even the ancient sects knew of his existence. If his meridians suddenly healed, wouldn't these people be suspicious? Plus, the damage to Boss Spy's meridians was a little strange. If Lin Yi's guess was correct, not only were his meridians broken, but there was also a lot of refinement fire poison caused by the deviation inside. For something like this, he had no confidence in clearing it. The poison of elixir fire was different from the poison of regular true qi. Elixir fire was another form of existence transformed from true qi. Even he himself could not control the elixir fire as he wished. How could he get rid of the elixir fire in Boss Spy's body? If he wasn't careful, the refinement fire poison might backfire on him again. That would be the real fire. Target equals _blank. As for the supplementary training methods, you can skip over them. There's no need to read them. You gave it to me just like that? Lin Yi's hands trembled a little. He didn't expect Boss Spy to be so generous and give him such an important thing directly, which surprised him. Yes, you can give it back to me if you don't want it. Boss Bai said, It's not that I don't want it. It's that you are not afraid that I will leak it? Lin, he felt it was a little unreal. You mean these things? Boss Bai pointed at the information in Lin Yi's hands and said, If you want to leak it, that's up to you. But I guess that even if you show it a coiling tiger right, he won't read it. This is the common mental cultivation method and refinement of fire for alchemy masters. There's nothing special about it. It's a rare thing in the secular world, but I'm afraid that all the hidden families with a little bit of connections will have it. Even the ordinary library of the ancient sects and ancient families have it. This thing is from a street stall? Didn't you conclude it yourself? Lin, he didn't know what to say about Boss Bai's statement. This isn't my conclusion. I already said that before my master died, he didn't pass on the refinement of fire to me. What he gave me was only some alchemy experience, and it was not complete. Boss Bai said, This can also be said to be from a street stall. Even if it's not, it won't be kept a secret. No way. Lin, he looked at the deputy, main mental cultivation method, and refinement of fire in his hands. He was excited for a long time, but it turned out that this thing was so ordinary. Actually, the Yu family's condensing mental cultivation method is also improved on this basis. It should be much better than this. The auxiliary mental cultivation method and the alchemy fire condensing mental cultivation method that Yu Coiling Tiger cultivates are unique to the Yu family, Boss Bai said. Then why did Coiling Tiger right come to you? Lin, he asked curiously. He didn't come here to learn these, but the methods of refining various elixirs that I summarized, some skills of alchemy fire control, and some knowledge of pharmacological properties. Boss Bai said, Doesn't that mean that Coiling Tiger, right, doesn't even want to learn? You want me to learn? Linny looked at the information in his hand with a bitter smile and said, Don't you have any good secret manuals? No. Boss Bai sighed. Actually, these mental cultivation methods, as long as they are cultivated, it's all the same. It's just a matter of personal habit. The ultimate goal is to transform one's true qi into alchemy fire through a section of the mental cultivation method. The purpose is the same, so I'm familiar with this refinement of fire, and I don't bother to learn other mental cultivation methods. Then haven't you thought about your disciple? Lin, he asked speechlessly. At that time, I was young and impetuous. Right Coiling Tiger was in a hurry and actually spilled the beans. You kicked the door twice in a row. It was obviously intentional. Just now? How did you know just now? Could it be that you have been eavesdropping at the door? Lenny looked at Right Coiling Tiger with a faint smile. Right Coiling Tiger then realized that he had spilled the beans. He was a little embarrassed, but fortunately this guy was thick-skinned. What eavesdropping? I also came to find Boss Bai before, but I saw you inside, so I left first. Now I'm back to see if you left, so I can go find Boss Bai. Oh, then you go in. Boss Bai is going to take a nap. He may not have time to receive you, said Lenny. Then, I won't go first. Let's talk about it another day. Right Coiling Tiger estimated that Boss Bai had just passed some good things to Lin Yi today. He definitely wouldn't be in the mood to give him any more benefits. It was better to come again at another time. Moreover, he also wanted to know what the thing in Lin Yi's hand was. Up to you. Lin Yi sneered, but he was too lazy to expose him again. By the way, Lin Yi, what is that thing in your hand? Did Boss Bai give it to you? Right Coiling Tiger pointed at the information in Lin Yi's hand and asked curiously, What are you doing? Lin Yi suddenly withdrew his hand and put the information behind him. He looked at Right Coiling Tiger with a vigilant look. Student Lin, what are you doing? Aren't you too nervous? I was just asking casually. Do you have to be like this? Right Coiling Tiger saw Lin Yi's actions and was even more certain that Lin Yi was holding some good information that Boss Bai had passed to Lin Yi. So he said, Could it be some good treasure? It's just some information that Boss Bai gave me. It's not a good treasure, said Lin Yi lightly. Oh, since it's not a good treasure, how about letting me see it? Right Coiling Tiger asked. No way. Lin Yi directly rejected Right Coiling Tiger's proposal. Boss Bai said that you probably don't want to see this thing. Your Yu family has a deep foundation. You won't be interested in this. Ha, how can that be? Boss Bai's prestige is quite high, and his ability is also TSK. So, to be able to see the information that Boss Bai gave me is a great honor. Right Coiling Tiger wasn't trying to flatter Lin E. He was speaking from the bottom of his heart. If he didn't really want to learn from Boss Bai, why would he apply for the biology department of Donghai Industry University and become an ordinary student? If he had the time to make elixirs or have fun, it would be great. Oh, that's still not possible. Lin E said firmly. If I say no, then no. There's no room for negotiation? Right Coiling Tiger asked, unwilling to give up. Do you think I'm stupid? Why should I show it to you? Do you think we have a good relationship? Not only did you scold Wang Xinyan, but you also wanted to kill me in the bowling alley. As long as he didn't dare to make trouble in front of Boss Bai, then Lin E wasn't afraid of him. Even if it was an ordinary street item, Lin E didn't want to show it to him on purpose. It was just that what Lin E didn't expect was that Right Coiling Tiger actually regarded the thing in his hands as a treasure and was ready to exchange it with benefits or buy it with money. If Lin E knew about it, he might not know whether to laugh or cry at his own lucky hit. On the way back to the dorm, Lin E bought a boxed lunch from the cafeteria. It was already past the meal time, but the boxed lunch was still sold until the evening. Back in the dorm, Bai Weitua saw Lin E and said, Brother Lin, my grandpa is looking for you. It's nothing, he gave me some information. Do you want to take a look? Lin E said as he waved the thing in his hand. No, I can't play with those things. It seemed that Bai Weitua already knew what Lin E was holding in his hand. It seemed like he didn't know at all. It was a completely different concept from Right Coiling Tiger. How is Zhang Duopan? He didn't give you any trouble, right? Asked Lin E. Not really, but last night was really bad. The meal didn't cost much, but in the end, he bought a cup. He was screwed to death. Bai Weitua thought it was funny when he mentioned what happened last night. The funniest thing is, in front of Mei Wei, this kid was acting like a big shot. He was beaten until his teeth fell into his stomach. Lin E smiled as he opened the lunchbox and quickly ate. Zhang Duopan really didn't have the mood to find trouble with Bai Weitua. He had enough troubles on his own side. After trying for a long time, he still didn't have enough money for Chang Yi's appearance fee. Zhang Duopan had no choice but to call his father, Zhang Fengfeng. Hello, son, how is it? Was the performance successful? Did you successfully capture your little girlfriend's heart? Did you take her to a hotel room yesterday? If she's pregnant, you must tell me. Your grandpa is waiting for you to carry on the family line. Zhang Fengfeng was a person with a strong concept of carrying on the family line. He believed that there were 3 ways to be unfilial. His father was looking forward to having a great-grandchild. So Zhang Fengfeng waited for Zhang Duopan to go to university before he started thinking about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have helped his son and invited a celebrity just to chase a girl. Don't mention it, Dad. She invited Su Shirhan yesterday. I lost. Zhang Duopan smiled bitterly. My plan to chase a girl is going to be put on hold. What? Then don't you have to give up on that, Mei Wei? Motherfucker, what the hell are you doing? Your grandpa is waiting for you to have a great-grandchild. You don't even have a girlfriend. How am I going to explain this to him? Zhang Fengfeng said angrily. Why the fuck did you make a bet? Is it good now? Chapter 2018. Oh, okay, I'll give your Uncle Sue a call and tell him to get someone to work with you. But the entrance fee can't be waived. You should spend the money yourself. Old Sue and someone else invested in the Tiger Park. He can't just give it to you for free. Zhang Fengfeng said. It's fine, just work with me. Thanks, Dad. Zhang Duopan was overjoyed. Not only did this call solve all of his problems, but the trip to the Tiger Park was even more assured now. That's not the main thing. You need to get me a girlfriend and continue the family line. That's the most important thing, got it? Zhang Fengfeng said. Got it. Don't worry, Dad. I'll get it done. Zhang Duopan said with a smile. Everything was done, and Zhang Duopan's face was full of smiles. He'd walked out of the shadow of yesterday's scam. In the afternoon, Lin, Yi, and Bai Weituo went to the biology building together. He saw Yu Coiling Tiger looking at him expectantly as he walked in. Lin Yi smiled and waved the documents in his hand. He grinned at Yu Coiling Tiger before ignoring him and sitting down next to Wang Xinyan. Fuck, what you so cocky about? You think you're so great just because you got Boss Bai's teachings? Yu Coiling Tiger cursed, a little pissed off. Just wait until I get home and find a good treasure. You'll trade with me. Mph. Yeah, master you. That Lin Yi kid hasn't seen much of the world. We're a hidden house of House Yu. Any good treasure is enough to make him drool over it. He'll trade. The yellow hair nodded. Yeah, 2 or 3 more days won't matter. The purple hair said. Lin Yi sat down, and Wang Xinyan looked up at Lin Yi. Lin Yi, I heard from Mei Wei that she wants to invite us to the Tiger Park this weekend. Are you free? If not, I'll just reject it. I'm not going either. Why not? It's tiring to go to class every day. It's good to relax on the weekend. Lin Yi smiled. Or do you not want to go with me? I'm not. I'm just worried that Meng Yao and Yushu won't like us going out together. It'll cause you trouble. Xinyan blushed. Then why don't they go together? Lin Yi said. Together. Xinyan didn't know why, but she felt a little disappointed all of a sudden. All right, I'll talk to Mei Wei tonight and have her tell Zhang Duopan. But you talked to Bai Weituo. Mei Wei said she's worried that Zhang Duopan might try something. Why didn't she say it herself? Lin Yi asked with a smile. Mei Wei, she's not sure if she can be with Bai Weituo, and she's high school friend with Zhang Duopan. Wouldn't she be betraying her old classmate if Zhang Duopan found out about it? Xinyan shook her head. Lin Yi frowned. This Mei Wei was really indecisive, but this was Bai Weituo's business. He couldn't say much, so he said, Okay, I'll tell him. Okay. Xinyan nodded before turning back to her book. Xinyan didn't know if she was playing with fire. Ever since the military training, her relationship with Lin Yi had gotten a lot closer. She didn't know what other people would think if they kept this up, but she knew that she was starting to rely on Lin Yi a little. Every time she went to class and waited for him to sit beside her, she would feel at ease. They didn't talk much, but Xinyan felt that it was a kind of tacit understanding. But Xinyan's heart sank every time she thought about her engagement. She felt a little uneasy. Xinyan thought that Lin Yi was very strong, but House Kong wasn't the same as before. She heard that House Kong had found a powerful backer, or else family Xiao wouldn't be so eager to get married to House Kong, even with the Hidden House Pie's support. Man, Xinyan sighed as she looked back at her textbook. She'd put these headaches aside for now. She'd be happy every day, and at least she was happy and at ease right now. She enjoyed sitting at the same table with Lin Yi, having class together. Lin Yi stopped by Weituo after class, telling him about Zhang Duopan's plan and Mei Yue's message. Mei Wei really told to tell me? Bai Weituo was very excited after hearing Lin Yi's words. Yes, Lin Yi was speechless. Why was Mei Wei so happy that she didn't tell Bai Weituo herself? Haha, that's great. I still have a slight advantage over Zhang Duopan. Bai Weituo smiled. Lin Yi paused, realizing why Bai Weituo was so happy. He was thinking too much. Mei Wei was different from his girlfriends. Xiao Xiao was the one who took the initiative to chase him, and it was a very purposeful kind. He didn't have any competitors at all, and Xiao Xiao didn't have any feelings for other guys either. That was why he was so critical of Mei Yue's actions. But when he thought about it, Mei Wei and Zhang Duopan were really old classmates, and Bai Weituo joined later. From this point alone, Mei Wei was already very good to Bai Weituo. After school today, Lin Yi didn't let Han Jingjing wait for nothing. He called her to the parking lot, and Han Jingjing was very happy that Lin Yi thought of her. Brother Lin Yi, you finally remembered Jingjing. That's great. Han Jingjing didn't hold the tablet to write or draw, but she talked to Lin Yi. Yesterday's incident. I'm really sorry. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. If it weren't for yesterday's incident, Lin, you wouldn't pay so much attention to it. It's nothing. I was caught a cold. Achoo. Han Jingjing sneezed. It wasn't obvious in the morning, but she didn't expect it to get worse and worse after school. You caught a cold? Lin Yi saw Han Jingjing's situation and immediately frowned. He said, take some medicine when you go back. Oh, how about this? I'll go over and help you treat it. I have something important to tell you tonight. Okay. Han Jingjing nodded. Brother Lin Yi, what important matter do you have for Jing Jing? You'll know when you go back, said Lin. Oh. Han Jingjing nodded. The two went to the parking lot, and Lin Yi opened the door and got in with Han Jingjing. They waited quietly for Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Han Xiao Xiao. Yesterday, Jing Jing knew that Big Brother Lin Yi didn't mean it, so Jing Jing didn't mind, said Han Jingjing. Well, let's cure your cold first, Lin Yi said. Then I have something important to tell you. Where's Han Xiao Xiao? He's reading upstairs. Do you have something to talk to him about? Asked Han Jingjing. It's nothing. Lin Yi shook his head. Did he not catch a cold? No. He seems to be fine, said Han Jingjing. That's good. Lin Yi said you sit on the sofa. I'll help you with acupuncture. Can acupuncture cure a cold? Han Jingjing was a little confused. Don't I need to take medicine? No. Acupuncture will do. Lin Yi said, others may not be able to do it, but I can. Oh, that's good. Han Jingjing nodded obediently and sat on the sofa, but she still asked with some worry, Big Brother Lin Yi, does acupuncture hurt? It doesn't hurt. As Lin Yi said this, he took out the silver needle and sterilized it with his true energy. He seemed to insert it into Han Jingjing's body casually. In fact, Lin Yi's accuracy couldn't be higher. Okay, don't move. It will be fine in a while. After Lin Yi inserted the needle, he pinched the end of the silver needle and infused a little true energy. It's so hot. Han Jingjing's beautiful forehead was covered in a thin layer of sweat, and her body was also drenched. I think I've gotten some good water. Poof. Lin Yi's hand that was pinching the silver needle shook slightly. A lot of water? Han Jingjing's words were really ambiguous. If it weren't for Han Jingjing's big watery eyes that were full of innocence, Lin Yi would really think that Han Jingjing was on him. However, after Lin Yi heard this, he still had a little reaction. He coughed awkwardly and quickly sat on the sofa on the side. He said, okay, wait for a while. Oh, okay. Han Jingjing didn't seem to notice the physiological changes in Lin Yi's body. She trusted Lin Yi and nodded. After a while, Lin Yi calmed his heartbeat and put away the silver needle. He didn't expect a girl like Han Jingjing to be very lethal sometimes. Is she very cute now? Okay, you go take a bath. Wash off the sweat on your body. Lin Yi said, I will wait for you here. Are you going to take a bath now? Han Jingjing was slightly stunned. Then you wait for me here. I'm really sorry. Do you want to watch TV? And what are you eating tonight? Lin Yi asked. Instant noodles or takeout? Han Jingjing said, what's wrong? Nothing. You take a bath first. I'll go back and take a look. I'll get some food from home. Let's eat together. Lin Yi said. That's fine. Thank you, Lin Yi bro. Han Jingjing said. Lin Yi nodded and left Han Jingjing's villa. He returned to his own villa. Miss and Shu had already finished eating. They were watching TV in the living room. When she saw Lin Yi coming back, Meng Yao asked, Lin Yi, did you talk about the things over there? I left some food for you. It's in the kitchen. Chapter 2020. Date, November 1st, NBSB. But you can go back to the room to get it. Yushu said, 1*1*. My needles were contaminated last time, so I can't use them anymore, Lin Yi said. Then you could buy a new one. Yushu said, all right, Shu, if you want Lin Yi to touch you, just say it. No need to find so many excuses. Meng Yao interrupted Yushu. Yao Yao, you're the king of truth, Yushu said, shocked. You're even better than truth, Shu. I've lived with you for so long. How could I not know what you're thinking? Meng Yao curled her lips. But you're only good at talking. why don't you go push me down if you can? Ugh, Shield bro doesn't like tough shoe. Yushu said. Lin didn't expect the miss to say something like that, and he sweated. It seemed like Yao Yao, him, and Shu were really familiar with each other. The miss was treating him more and more like a part of the family, not hiding anything in front of him. You guys talk, I'll bring the dishes over. Lin shook his head, admiring Meng Yao for being able to see through Shu with one look. Even Lin felt like he couldn't see through Yushu. Although Yushu said that she liked him, Lin felt that there was something hidden under Yushu's straightforward personality, different from Xiao Xiao's straightforwardness. Perhaps if he and Xiao Xiao stayed together for a long time, something beyond friendship would happen naturally. But with Shu, Lin felt that it wouldn't happen. Even Lin himself didn't know why. Maybe it was because the two of them had been living together for so long, and there really wasn't anything going on. Or maybe it was because of him and Yushu. Although there were small flirtatious moments, there hadn't been a single real flirtatious moment. But there was one thing he was sure of. Yushu seemed to have feelings for him, but it was a strange feeling. It seemed right in front of his eyes, yet far away at the same time. Lin couldn't figure out little Shu's thoughts. This girl was sometimes smart and sometimes silly, but to say that she was silly, actually it wasn't that silly. In short, some things were very strange. Lin brought the food to Han Jingjing's villa. The food in Lin Yi's hands was enough for 3 people. Just now, when Lin Yi left, he didn't lock the door. However, the door was unlocked, so there was no need to press the doorbell this time. After placing the dishes on the dining table, Lin quietly waited for Han Jingjing to finish showering and come down. Han Jingjing probably just took a shower and didn't spend too much time. Obviously, she didn't want to keep Lin waiting for too long. They didn't bathe for too long. Otherwise, Lin knew how long girls took to bathe. Miss and Shu took a long time to bathe. Big brother Lin, I made you wait for a long time. Han Jingjing changed into a set of pajamas. The loose nightgown revealed her body, and Lin didn't dare to continue looking. This Han Jingjing's body seemed to be quite good. If Lin didn't know Han Jingjing's personality, he would think that Han Jingjing was deliberately seducing him. She had been seducing him ever since she came out of the water. But Lin knew that Han Jingjing's personality was silly. She probably didn't have such thoughts, so Lin could only think that she was familiar with him and didn't guard against him. No, I just came back, Lin said. Ask Han Xiao Xiao to come down and have a meal with us. Wow, so much food. Big brother Lin, you're so amazing. You came back and made so much food. Han Jingjing was overjoyed when she saw the food on the table. Yesterday's food was so delicious. Xiao Xiao and I didn't eat enough. I didn't expect to eat again today. It's much better than the takeout from those restaurants. Oh, Lin didn't explain that he didn't cook today's food, but Grandma Sun's cooking was quite good. Han Jingjing picked up the phone next to the stairs and dialed the intercom in Han Xiao Xiao's room. She asked Han Xiao Xiao to come and eat. Then she ran to Lin Yi's side and sat down. The fragrance of shower gel made Lin feel refreshed. Han Xiao Xiao was obviously the nerd type. He was even more nerdy than Han Jingjing. When he went downstairs, he was still holding a textbook. He walked to the table and put the textbook down. He looked at the food on the table and was a little surprised. Sister, it's so sumptuous. I haven't eaten such a sumptuous meal in a long time. Big brother Lin brought it. Han Jingjing said. Thank you, big brother Lin. Han Xiao Xiao said shyly. Okay, hurry up and eat. Lin said. Han Jingjing and Han Xiao Xiao buried their heads to eat, but Han Jingjing ate 2 mouthfuls and wondered, today's food doesn't seem to be cooked by big brother Lin. It's not the same as yesterday's, but it's still delicious. You can tell, Lin was a little surprised. He didn't expect Han Jingjing to be so powerful. She could immediately tell that today's food wasn't made by him. Han Jingjing nodded. It feels like the heat is different. Today's food was made by my housekeeper, Grandma Sun, but Grandma Sun's cooking is also very good. Lin said. Han Jingjing didn't say anything and lowered her head to eat. Han Jingjing's appetite wasn't big, so she was full soon. Han Xiao Xiao could eat a lot and ate 3 bowls of rice. However, After eating, Han Xiaoqiao took the textbook upstairs and didn't care about Lin, Yi, and Han Jingjing. Han Jingjing was about to clean up the dishes, but she was stopped by Lin, Yi. Han Jingjing, wait a minute. Don't clean up yet. Wait until I finish talking to you. All right, Linny bro. Han Jingjing nodded and stopped in her tracks. Lin Yi sat on the sofa, and Han Jingjing followed. Han Jingjing, haven't you always wanted to learn alchemy? I have a copy of the information here, but after I give it to you, don't tell anyone, especially not to Yupan Hu. Lin Yi said that although Boss Bai said that this thing was a street stall, Lin Yi didn't want to show it to others. And then, Han Jingjing nodded quickly with a happy face. Don't worry, big brother Lin Yi. Jingjing will never show it to others. I won't show it even if I die. It's like protecting my body from other men. Ugh, that's a bit too much. Lin Yi was stunned. Protecting my body from other men? Then, am I considered something else? Lin Yi shook his head. What's going on with this Han Jingjing? Seducing me again and again? To say that she's stupid, it doesn't seem that she's too stupid. It's just that her thinking logic is not the same as normal people. But to say that she's not stupid, why is she like a child? To be continued. You star. Chapter 2021. Han Jingjing's stupidity was completely different from Yushu's stupidity. It's not serious. Jingjing will treasure it. Han Jingjing nodded. All right, up to you. This is an auxiliary mental cultivation method for alchemists. And this is the mental cultivation method for alchemists to condense Dan fire. You can try to cultivate these two. First, cultivate the auxiliary mental cultivation method, then try to condense Dan fire. Lin Yi gave the information Boss Bai gave him a Han Jingjing. Scan it and put in your tablet. It's too eye-catching. I got this from someone else. Before Han Jingjing achieved anything, Lin Yi didn't want people to know too much. All right, Jingjing will scan in a bit. Han Jingjing nodded. All right, Han Jingjing, study it yourself. I'll go back first, Lin Yi said. Lin Yi bro, just call me Jingjing from now on. That's my nickname. Everyone at home calls me that. Han Jingjing said, calling me Han Jingjing sounds too distant. All right, I'll call you Jingjing then. Lin Yi didn't reject it and left with a nod. When he got home, the Miss and Shu hadn't rested yet. Lin Yi didn't actually waste much time. He just ate with Han Jingjing and Xiaoqiao and gave the things Boss Bai gave him a Han Jingjing, giving her some instructions. Lin Yi, how is it? Does Han Jingjing know how to concoct pills? Meng Yao saw Lin Yi come back and quickly asked. In her heart, she was even more worried than Lin Yi. Tang Yin was already gone, and even if she didn't want to, Xiao wouldn't be able to come back. It's not that fast. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Concocting pills isn't that easy. You'll have to wait for a while to see. I see, I was too impatient. Meng Yao smiled embarrassedly and looked at Shu. Yao, why are you looking at me like that? Yushu didn't know what was going on. Is there something on my face? Meng Yao couldn't take it anymore. Didn't you have something to say to your shield bro? Me? Something? Yushu blinked. No. Why not? Have you forgotten? Ahem. Meng Yao's eyes widened. No. Sister Yao, what are you talking about? Yushu looked at Meng Yao, confused. That's it, Meng Yao said as she reached her hand into Yushu's clothes and pulled off. Yao, Yushu shrieked before coming to a sudden realization. Yao was talking about underwear. All right, shield bro. Where are my and sister Yao's underwear? Meng Yao didn't know what to say. She was too embarrassed to ask. If you keep asking, I might as well ask myself. What the hell is going on? Underwear, I would have forgotten about it if you didn't mention it. Lin Yi just remembered that he put the underwear in the trunk of the car. But Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao were in the car, and then Su Shirhan came. Lin Yi was too embarrassed to take the underwear out in front of Shirhan, so he forgot about it after a long time. He patted his head and said apologetically, I'll get it for you now. With that, Lin Yi turned around and left the villa. He went to the car to get the underwear box and put it on the coffee table in the living room. Shield bro, when you helped us pack the underwear, did you see anything special? Did you see anything special? Yushu asked. Meng Yao almost had the urge to strangle Yushu. Lin Yi put the underwear box on the coffee table and didn't say anything. He was about to go back to his room when you reminded him. Thing. Lin, he paused. He turned around and opened the underwear box in front of Meng Yao and Yushu. He took out the electric stick and asked, "Are you talking about this?" Ugh. Yeah. Yushu realized that she'd done something stupid as well. She could only admit it when she saw Meng Yao's murderous glare. "I'm the one who bought it. It has nothing to do with Yao Yao." Meng Yao rolled her eyes at Yushu's words. "Were you trying to hide something from her with those words?" "Nothing to do with Yao Yao. It has nothing to do with me in the first place, okay? But you're saying it like you're taking the blame for me? You bought it in the first place," Meng Yao said angrily. I didn't say it was Yao Yao who bought it. I said I bought it myself," Yushu said innocently. "You? Why? Meng Yao's eyes were wide open as her chest heaved up and down. She snatched the electric stick from Lin Yi's hands. "I really should have thrown it away back then. But, Yao Yao, you said that it's not good to just throw it around," Yushu said weakly. "And if I get a boyfriend in the future, I can prepare for it." "Prepare my ass." Meng Yao's face was red. She wanted to dig a hole in the ground and hide in it. She threw the stick on the coffee table and said to Lin, "It's for you." "For me?" Lin, he pointed at himself, stunned. What would he need this thing for? But looking at the Miss embarrassed face, Lin, he smiled bitterly as he picked it up. "All right, I'll take it then. I heard that Zhang Naipeo practices some chrysanthemum arts or something. I'll give it to him later." Lin, he had a rough idea of what was going on. Yushu must have bought this thing, and Meng Yao was innocent in all of this. It was just that Meng Yao was afraid of being misunderstood. So Lin, he took the stick and successfully shifted the blame onto Zhang Naipeo. Huffed. "Get to Zhang Naipeo?" Yushu blinked and burst out laughing. "That chrysanthemum art of his, that's not what it means, is it? That's an ancient practitioner's art. The chrysanthemum doesn't mean that in the ancient times, right? Shoo. Can you calm down? What do you mean by this or that? Why are your thoughts so complicated?" Meng Yao was already embarrassed enough, and Shu was still going on and on. "How do you know that I'm complicated, Yao Yao?" "Then Yao Yao's thoughts are complicated as well," Yushu said. "What's there to be complicated about?" Lin Yi giving it to Zhang Naipeo means that he's mocking Zhang Naipeo for being useless and giving it to Naipeo to gift his girlfriend that's looking down on him. Do you understand? Your thoughts are too evil, Meng Yao explained. "What the fuck, Yao Yao? Your thoughts really are complicated. I can't even think of such a deep meaning," Yushu said, surprised. "No doubt you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.